In the huge villa, Lu Qian, after a shower, walked to the outside of Quan Yuqian's room. She knocked, but there was no answer. Lu Qian opened the door. She stood shyly to the side, reminding Quan Yuqian that she had finished washing up. On the balcony, Quan Yuqian gently swirled the red wine glass in his hand and took a sip. Quan Yuqian turned around, sizing up Lu Qian, who was standing at the door. Really? You didn't even dry your hair. Lu Qian, pinching the damp ends of her hair, was about to explain when Quan Yuqian interrupted her. He thought Lu Qian was already impatient. Lu Qian immediately refuted it shyly. The next moment, Lu Qian felt herself being lifted. Quan Yuqian had swept Lu Qian into his arms, ready to fulfill the agreement. Quan Yuqian carried Lu Qian to the luxurious king-size bed. Without any tenderness, he tossed Lu Qian onto the bed. Lu Qian struggled to sit up steadily. Seeing Quan Yuqian eagerly taking off his clothes, Lu Qian quickly spoke up to stop him. Quan Yuqian was very displeased. It being her first time, Lu Qian nervously gripped the bedsheets. She shyly wanted to turn off the lights. Quan Yuqian looked at the blushing Lu Qian before him, thinking that women who pretend to be pure are the most troublesome. He sighed and reluctantly turned off the lights. In the darkness, Lu Qian knelt obediently at the head of the bed. After all, she was someone with a fiancé. How could he possibly believe it was her first time? Quan Yuqian went straight for it. In a few swift moves, he stripped off Lu Qian's cumbersome clothes and tossed them aside. Looking at the two of them, now equally naked, Quan Yuqian felt this was much better. Quan Yuqian looked at the woman before him with her head lowered. He reached out and pinched her chin. "Why are you looking down?" He lifted Lu Qian's head to meet his gaze. Lu Qian was scared. Quan Yuqian directly kissed Lu Qian's cherry-like lips, beginning the main event of the evening. 10,000 words are omitted here. And hanging on the wall was, surprisingly, a wedding photo of Lu Qian and Quan Yuqian. A night of passion. The next day, the weather was beautiful. After a night of uninhibited pleasure, Quan Yuqian gazed at the sleeping woman before him, lost in thought. It was supposed to be just fulfilling an agreement. He hadn't expected to lose control. Quan Yuqian found it truly surprising. She had been with her fiancé for so long and was about to get married, yet it was still her first time. In her sleep, Lu Qian turned over. A tearing pain shot through her. Quan Yuqian propped himself up with one hand, and with the other, gently caressed Lu Qian's scrunched-up little face. Was I too rough? Maybe I should have been gentler. After a while, the soundly sleeping Lu Qian's eyes suddenly flew open. It was already morning. She looked around. Quan Yuqian was already gone. Recalling everything that happened last night, Lu Qian sat up with a start. Feeling the pain in her body, she realized that guy, Quan Yuqian, had tormented her all night. Tears welled up in Lu Qian's eyes, thinking of the first time she had saved for so long, given to a man she had known for less than 2 days. Her eyes dimmed. As for the fiancé, she had loved deeply for years. 3 days ago, Lu Qian had dressed up exquisitely, tiptoeing upstairs in her beautiful little red high heels. Thinking that tomorrow was the wedding, she planned to give her fiancé Zhang Mingwei a surprise today. "Tomorrow you're marrying that thing." "What'll I do then?" In the large room, Lu Wenhui's coquettish voice could be heard. Lu Wenhui reached out and caressed the chest of the man on top of her. Zhang Mingwei held Lu Wenhui tightly. "How could she compare to you? All this time, she wouldn't even let me touch her. If it weren't for you, I would have gone crazy long ago." Hearing this, the woman in his arms instantly brightened up. The man sat up and continued his efforts. No one noticed the door to the room had opened a crack, revealing a shocked face. Walking on the street, Lu Qian felt like a complete and utter fool. Tomorrow was supposed to be her wedding day. Lu Qian never dreamed that the fiancé she had loved for 3 years would be cheating on her with her own cousin, that something like this would actually happen to her. Recalling the scene that had just occurred, a wave of nausea washed over her. Lu Qian couldn't hold it in and vomited directly onto the Maserati parked nearby, and she was caught by the car's owner. Looking at the extraordinary man before her, Lu Qian was mortified. She quickly apologized and hurriedly took a handkerchief from her bag. She prepared to wipe the car clean. Quan Yuqian gave a contemptuous smile. His assistant, Anan, standing behind him, was about to speak when Quan Yuqian said dismissively, "There's no need to waste time on this kind of woman." This kind of woman. Lu Qian was instantly furious. She had already apologized, and she was cleaning it up. What on earth did this man want? The two locked eyes. Quan Yuqian looked at the angry woman before him and smiled faintly. He reached out, pinched Lu Qian's chin, and leaning in, said softly, "What do you think I mean?" Are you deliberately trying to get my attention? Lu Qian's face flushed red, but in her heart, she was still cursing Quan Yuchen for being a hooligan. He looked at the infatuated-looking Lu Qian before him. Quan Yuchen said, "Were you waiting for me to say that?" He patted her shoulder, advising her not to pull these boring tricks just to get to know him. Thinking he had seen through everything, Quan Yuchen turned back confidently. He wasn't so easily fooled. He strode away, leaving an incoherent and exploding Lu Qian on the spot. Watching the Maserati drive away haughtily, Lu Qian swore to herself, "Don't let me ever meet you again, you man surnamed Quan." In the Maserati, Quan Yuchen told his assistant Anan to get the details on Lu Haiping's arrest for corruption in the next 2 days and report back to him. Lu Qian returned to the Lu family home. Her mother, seeing her mood at a glance, asked if she had fought with Ming Wei. Not wanting to worry her mother, Lu Qian chose to tell a white lie. Her mother thought Lu Qian was just nervous because of the wedding tomorrow. Lu Qian couldn't bring herself to say it, so she just responded awkwardly while secretly reminding herself that her mother had a weak heart. She absolutely could not let her know about Zhang Ming Wei and her cousin. Just then, the home phone and Lu Qian's phone rang at the same time. Mother and daughter answered their respective phones. It was about Lu Qian's father, who, due to corruption, had been taken away by the police. How is that possible? Lu Qian was just about to speak when she suddenly heard a heavy thud. Lu Qian subconsciously turned to look. The sight made her soul leave her body. Lu Qian screamed in terror. Sitting outside the emergency room, Lu Qian kept mechanically reassuring herself, "Mom will definitely be okay." The operating light went out. The doctor came out after the surgery. Lu Qian immediately stood up and went forward to ask about her mother's condition. The doctor was extremely apologetic. "I've done my best." The doctor's words were like a thunderclap, echoing in her mind. Lu Qian collapsed to her knees. Her whole being was gone. She fainted from grief. When she woke up, Lu Qian couldn't believe that in just half a day, she was the only one left in this world. In the vast funeral home, Lu Qian knelt alone before the memorial. Because of her father's situation, her mother's passing was so sudden. Lu Qian felt a deep sense of unease. But Lu Qian absolutely did not believe her father would do something like corruption. Someone must have framed him. Lu Qian took a deep look at the memorial hall and dragged her stiff body away. Rain was falling from the sky. Lu Qian walked on the road home. No matter what, she had to get her father out and clear his name. At the main gate, Lu Qian saw the lights on in the house. It seemed someone was home. She opened the main door. The scene before her made Lu Qian explode with anger. Her own grandmother, Zhang Chunxiu, along with her daughter-in-law, Zhou Fongfong, were actually packing up her things and with looks of disgust on their faces. Lu Qian was furious. "Why are you here? And why are you touching my mother's things without permission?" Zhang Chunxiu immediately told Lu Qian to shut up. "This house is not for you to call the shots." Looking at her sharp-tongued and mean-looking grandmother, Lu Qian was in disbelief. She firmly demanded that they get out. Zhang Chunxiu looked smug. "From today on, I'm in charge of this house. Take your things and get out." Lu Qian clenched her fists, trembling with anger. "On what grounds are you telling me to leave?" Seeing this, Zhou Fongfong pretended to placate her, telling Lu Qian not to be angry with her grandmother. "Just listen to your grandmother and go stay somewhere else for a few days." Lu Qian looked at the suitcase, unable to believe it, that these people with such ugly faces were her own relatives. Just then, Lu Wenhui's voice rang out. Lu Qian turned to look. She saw Zhang Mingwei and Lu Wenhui walking in, arm in arm. Lu Qian felt that these two were here to flaunt their relationship in her face. Zhang Mingwei, feeling guilty, didn't dare to look Lu Qian in the eye and wanted to explain himself with false sincerity. Seeing Zhang Mingwei's cowardly appearance, Lu Qian told him to shut up. "Stop with the hypocrisy. It's truly disgusting." Lu Qian dragged the suitcase they had packed and left without looking back. But one day, she would definitely come back and take back what was hers. Dragging her suitcase, she walked alone on the road, feeling a wave of helplessness. Everything was a tangled mess, and she couldn't make sense of it. Without realizing it, Lu Qian walked a crosswalk. She completely failed to notice that the light was red. Lu Qian just walked out like that. With a screech, Lu Qian was knocked to the ground by a Maserati. It was a truly miserable sight. Quan Yuchen, who had been jolted in the car, closed his laptop, and snapped at Anan. Anan turned around awkwardly and apologized to Quan Yu-chin. "Did I think I hit someone?" Lu Qian collapsed on the ground, completely broke down. She couldn't understand why she was so unlucky. A familiar voice came. Lu Qian looked at the person getting out of the car. It was him, indeed. Quan Yu-chin thought this woman was really something else. She was willing to risk her life just to get to know him. Recalling the last incident, Lu Qian felt wronged on the spot. Who would want to know this self-important guy? Quan Yu-chin wanted the soaking wet Lu Qian, who was sitting on the ground, to stand up. Lu Qian, at her breaking point, exploded. She told Quan Yu-chin to go away quickly. She needed to be alone. Quan Yu-chin, who was inexplicably bearing the brunt of her anger, was completely bewildered. Quan Yu-chin looked at Lu Qian, who was sitting on the ground, hugging her knees and refusing to get up. Quan Yu-chin had no choice but to step out from under his umbrella. He extended his hand. Lu Qian was stunned. "If you've had enough of your tantrum, come back with me." Lu Qian stood shyly at the door, a puddle of water at her feet. She couldn't figure out how she had so dazedly followed him back. Quan Yu-chin didn't understand why Lu Qian was still standing at the door. Lu Qian stubbornly said she was fine. Quan Yu-chin told her to go to the bathroom on the right to dry off. Lu Qian looked puzzled. Quan Yu-chin was slightly speechless. He had no desire to keep admiring her tasteless underwear. Hearing this, Lu Qian tightly clutched her chest and dashed toward the bathroom. After drying off, Lu Qian sat on the sofa. Quan Yu-chin poured a cup of 82 black tea to warm Lu Qian's hands. Lu Qian took the tea and expressed her thanks. "And about vomiting on your car earlier, I'm really sorry." Quan Yu-chin leaned back lazily on the sofa. Lu Qian, 22 years old. "A few days ago, your father, Lu Haiping, was jailed for corruption. Your mother died of a sudden heart attack as a result." Quan Yu-chin's gaze sharpened. "Am I wrong?" Lu Qian was shocked. Who was this person? How did he know her situation so clearly? "I am Quan Yu-chin." His eyes were fixed on Lu Qian. Lu Qian was astonished. This man was actually Quan Yu-chin, the low-profile golden bachelor, the perfect lover in women's hearts. Coming back to her senses, Lu Qian decisively refused, getting up to leave. "If you leave now, Lu Qian, you'll regret it. I can help you get back everything you've lost, including clearing your father's name." Lu Qian's eyes lit up. "Are you serious?" "Of course. But in exchange, I have one condition." Lu Qian became nervous. "What condition?" Lu Qian was already prepared to make a deal with the devil. Quan Yu-chin was very satisfied with Lu Qian's reaction. "This condition isn't difficult. Just marry me." Lu Qian thought she was hearing things. After asking him to repeat it, Lu Qian still felt Quan Yu-chin was joking. They had only known each other for 2 hours. Quan Yu-chin glanced at the time. To be precise, it's been 3 hours and 16 minutes. "Marry me, and I'll help you get back what's yours." It's all very reasonable. Lu Qian couldn't understand. "Why me? Your background is clean, you're well-educated, and your family situation could be considered that of a well-bred young lady. Overall, your genes are excellent. As long as you give me a son within 2 years, you will regain your freedom." Hearing Quan Yu-chin's words, Lu Qian felt as if she had been struck by lightning, frozen on the spot. Lu Qian rebuked Quan Yu-chin. "These conditions are simply ridiculous. What do you take me for?" Quan Yu-chin told Lu Qian to think about her father. At the mention of her father, Lu Qian felt like she was being manipulated. "Your father isn't young, is he? You know, anything can happen in prison." Lu Qian told Quan Yu-chin to stop talking. "I'll agree. As long as you can save my father." Quan Yu-chin took out a pen and paper. "My child cannot have the status of an illegitimate child. We'll register the marriage tomorrow. But before that, Lu Qian, you have to sign this agreement." Lu Qian picked up the agreement and looked at it. It was a divorce agreement. Quan Yu-chin explained, "This is to ensure we can reduce unnecessary entanglements after this is all over." Lu Qian read the agreement carefully. "Within 2 years, if a son is born, he is yours. If a daughter is born, I can take her or leave her." After reading it, Lu Qian said, "I will sign this agreement. But you also have to get my father out within 2 weeks." Quan Yu-chin immediately refused. After all, this required a police decision. Lu Qian felt like she had been tricked. Quan Yu-chin told Lu Qian to let him finish. He could guarantee her father's safety in prison, but some evidence would take time to investigate. Lu Qian carefully considered Quan Yuchen's words. Then, on the divorce agreement, she wrote her name. In Quan Yuchen's private villa, Lu Qian was in the second-floor dressing room, changing into the fresh clothes Quan Yuchen had prepared for her. Lu Qian thought about getting her marriage certificate today and sighed. Lu Qian patted her own face, trying to cheer herself up. Today was a good day for a wedding, after all. A knock sounded on the door. Sister Zhou came to ask if Lu Qian was ready. The still shy Lu Qian said she'd be right down. Walking down the stairs, Lu Qian apologized for keeping Quan Yuchen waiting. Quan Yuchen, waiting downstairs, had his eyes light up. He reminded Lu Qian it was time to go. The shy Quan Yuchen immediately turned away, thinking to himself that Lu Qian was quite cute today. In the Maserati, Lu Qian stared blankly out the window, her heart pounding. Could she really trust him? After a while, they arrived. Quan Yuchen, very much the gentleman, took Lu Qian's hand. Looking at Quan Yuchen's natural movements, Lu Qian felt a strange sensation. She was just letting him hold her hand like this, and even felt a sense of being cared for. Gazing at Quan Yuchen's back, she wondered, could she be falling for this man? The photographer looked at Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian, who were standing a mile apart, and told them to get closer. In the photo, Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian were very tense, unable to even smile. Lu Qian looked at the marriage certificate in her hand, obtained so easily, and examined it closely. She didn't notice Quan Yuchen, who had stopped ahead after taking a call, and walked right into him. Quan Yuchen turned around awkwardly, looking at Lu Qian, who was rubbing her head, and chuckled to himself. He teased Lu Qian, asking if she was mesmerized by the marriage certificate. After teasing her, he told her seriously that they were going to see her father next. Lu Qian's eyes widened in anticipation. In the visitation room, a weary-looking Father Lu was brought in. He was pleasantly surprised to see Lu Qian. The father and daughter excitedly called out each other's names. Father Lu looked at Quan Yuchen with a questioning expression. How did Qian know him? The father and daughter greeted each other through the glass. At this point, Father Lu brought up Mother Lu. Lu Qian, her face covered in tears, struggled to say that her mother had passed away because of his imprisonment. Father Lu looked as if he had been struck by lightning and began to weep uncontrollably, repeatedly calling Mother Lu's name. He was inconsolable with grief. Yueru, it was I who caused your death. Lu Qian anxiously asked her father what exactly had happened. Pulled from his grief, Father Lu came to his senses. Actually, I don't know what happened either. That day, I had just entered the company when the police arrived. Quan Yuchen brought in Tang Chi-Huai, a senior lawyer from G-City's top law firm. Lawyer Tang would be handling Father Lu's case entirely. Father Lu told Lu Qian that he was already content just to be able to see her. Don't do anything foolish for my sake. Lu Qian's eyes instantly reddened. She said she wouldn't. The visitation bell rang. Father Lu was led away, looking back every few steps. Lu Qian shouted emotionally for her father to take care of himself. Father Lu smiled and replied that he would. Father Lu's figure looked so frail at that moment. Watching her father's back, Lu Qian's eyes were determined. Of course, she knew this was a foolish thing to do, but only by doing this would she have a chance to save her father. Leaving the prison, Lu Qian was thinking all the way. Everything about this case seemed to be controlled by Quan Yuchen. She had to gain some initiative. She had to get into the company and find evidence. Quan Yuchen told Lu Qian that he had other things to attend to, so he wouldn't be taking her. Seeing Lu Qian's downcast state, Quan Yuchen called out to her softly. Lu Qian looked up and met Quan Yuchen's gaze. Quan Yuchen stated that he would definitely get her back into the Lu family company within a week. Lu Qian couldn't believe what Quan Yuchen was saying. Quan Yuchen told Lu Qian not to ask too many questions and just to fulfill her duties. Lu Qian was stunned. A wife's duties? Night Banquet was the most famous bar in the entire city. At night, it was basically packed, but now, during the day, it was almost empty. Quan Yuchen told Anan to wait in the car as he went inside. After entering Night Banquet, Quan Yuchen walked straight towards the bar. Lian Zi's voice rang out. Gong Hao and Li Jingshun followed Lian Zi's gaze. Quan Yuchen looked at the three of them drinking in broad daylight, slightly surprised. Lian Zi responded with a shy look. I just wanted to see you. Gong Hao came forward and put Quan Yuchen in a headlock, complaining that he hadn't seen him recently. Quan Yuchen struggled. The three of them quickly sat down. They each clinked their glasses of 82 La Fight. Gong Hao voiced the question on all three of their minds. What had Quan Yuchen been so busy with lately? Quan Yuchen took a sip of La Fight and put down his glass. He calmly told everyone that he was married. The three of them were shocked to hear this news. Quan Yuchen even specially took out the marriage certificate to show everyone. Li Jingchun took it to examine it closely. Gong Hao quickly asked who the bride was. Lian Zi's face clearly showed disbelief and even a hint of hurt that you're lying, right? Lian Zi's eyes reddened and tears streamed down her face. Why wasn't she Quan Yuchen's bride? Everyone stared blankly at Lian Zi. Quan Yuchen told Lian Zi to stop making a scene, that he only saw her as a younger sister. Lian Zi cried even more sadly, I don't want to be your sister. Lian Zi ran out crying. Quan Yuchen looked helpless. Seeing Zi so upset, Gong Hao immediately said, Bro, I'll set you up with handsome guys. Ignore the scumbag. Quan Yuchen objected to being called a scumbag. Li Jingchun opened the marriage certificate. So Quan Yuchen's bride was Lu Haiping's daughter, Lu Qian. Quan Yuchen reached out to take back the marriage certificate, telling Li Jingchun that he was correct. With a wave of his hand, Quan Yuchen left. Li Jingchun watched Quan Yuchen's retreating back and sighed. Yuchen is really determined to get the Quan Corporation. Meanwhile, Lu Qian, in a restaurant, was seriously looking at the new menu for the day. After all, they had registered their marriage, so they should celebrate. Lu Qian didn't expect to run into her adversaries here. It was Lu Wenhui, who came in with her arm linked through Zhang Mingwei's. Seeing this despicable pair walking towards her, Lu Qian felt a wave of disgust. Out of sight, out of mind. She picked up her handbag and was about to walk out. Before she could leave, Lu Wenhui saw her and called out to her. She mocked Lu Qian, asking what she was doing here. Lu Qian was speechless and almost wanted to laugh that I'm here to eat, of course. Lu Wenhui taunted Lu Qian. Then why are you leaving? Lu Qian retorted without courtesy. Running into two nauseating people like you. How could I have any appetite to eat? Lu Wenhui gritted her teeth in anger. Zhang Mingwei quickly comforted Lu Wenhui. Zhang Mingwei glared fiercely at Lu Qian. Why did this Lu Qian have to talk about him and Lu Wenhui? Lu Wenhui, seeing Zhang Mingwei defending her, was very smug. Lu Qian gave a cold laugh, and oh wonder you two are together. Birds of a feather. Lu Wenhui, I need to make one thing clear to you today. Lu Wenhui was stunned by Lu Qian's sudden move. Lu Qian's eyes were full of disdain. What you got is the trash I threw away. And everything else, I'll be taking back soon. Lu Wenhui raised her hand and slapped Lu Qian across the face. Lu Qian didn't even have time to react. Her cheek quickly turned red. You really don't know your place. How dare you challenge me? Lu Wenhui knew she had to get tough with her. Just as the two were about to leave, they hadn't taken more than a few steps when Lu Qian lunged forward and grabbed Lu Wenhui's hair tightly. You think you can just slap me and walk away? Do you really think I'm a pushover? Lu Qian, with a cool move, threw Lu Wenhui to the ground. Lu Wenhui, lying on the floor, howled in pain. Zhang Mingwei, beside her, rushed forward to comfort her. Just then, a waiter's voice rang out. Mr. Quan, you're here. The waiter reported what had just happened to Quan Yuchen. Quan Yuchen looked at the two sisters fighting. It seemed Lu Qian was no pushover. Lu Wenhui, with her hair a mess, had completely lost her composure. She rushed forward, preparing to slap Lu Qian again. Just then, Quan Yuchen reached out and grabbed Lu Wenhui's hand as it flew towards Lu Qian. Quan Yuchen looked coldly at Lu Wenhui, telling her that if she touched Lu Qian again, he wouldn't be so polite. Lu Wenhui was thrown aside. Quan Yuchen very gently touched Lu Qian's swollen red cheek. In a paternalistic manner, he told Lu Qian not to act tough in the future. Lu Wenhui stared viciously at the man who had suddenly appeared. Lu Qian, you're really something. You found a boy toy to help you out this quickly. Zhang Mingwei quickly tried to stop her, but Lu Wenhui wouldn't listen. It was the first time Quan Yuchen had heard this term, and he found it very interesting. He pulled Lu Qian into his arms. I am Lu Qian's legal husband. Quan Yuchen. Lu Wenhui couldn't believe it. This was the man Lu Wenhui had dreamed of meeting. Zhang Mingwei quickly apologized, dragging the dazed Lu Wenhui outside. Quan Yuchen watched the two leave. What a weird relative. Hearing this, Lu Qian felt this guy was just here to watch the show. Lu Qian broke free from Quan Yuchen's embrace. You must have been secretly following me. Hearing Lu Qian's words, Quan Yuchen felt a wave of displeasure, but still explained. I just happened to be here to meet a client. Quan Yuchen took the menu and told Lu Qian to eat something. After all, there's some physical work to be done tonight. Hearing this, Lu Qian's already red face turned even redder. Lu Qian's stomach growled. She was indeed starving. On the way home, Lu Qian in the Maserati stared blankly out the window. Tonight, she would have to give herself to him. Lu Qian noticed a man and a woman walking in the distance. It was her uncle, Lu Haiyang, and her father's most trusted finance officer. Why were they together? Back at Quan Yuchen's grand villa, the two sat on the sofa with different thoughts. Neither had any interest in watching the gala on TV. Quan Yuchen put his hand on Lu Qian's shoulder and slowly moved closer to her. Lu Qian understood what was about to happen and started to panic. Quan Yuchen was puzzled to see the scared Lu Qian. He closed his eyes, lowered his head, and prepared to kiss her. Lu Qian, watching Quan Yuchen lean in, was at a loss. Looking at the man's handsome lips and high-bridged nose, Lu Qian reached out her hand and covered Quan Yuchen's approaching mouth. I need to take a shower first. Quan Yuchen, his mouth covered, was speechless but understood. Watching Lu Qian flee in a panic, Quan Yuchen couldn't help but reflect. Did I miss a step? Why is she acting like a novice? The bathroom was full of pink bubbles. Lu Qian forced herself to relax. Everything will be all right. Coming to her senses, Lu Qian sat on the bed in a daze. These past 3 days felt like a dream. She got out of bed and was staring blankly at her pajamas when a maid knocked on the door, ready to change the bed sheets. Lu Qian's face turned red. The bed sheets really did look like a disaster scene. After tidying up, Lu Qian went downstairs and immediately saw on the dining table cakes and desserts. She picked them up and began to feast. Just as she was enjoying her food, Quan Yuchen's deep voice suddenly came from beside her ear. Is it good? I prepared it especially for you. Lu Qian's little face turned red, and she fled in a panic. Quan Yuchen watched Lu Qian's retreating back, still so guarded against me. But you can't escape from my grasp. Quan Yuchen called out to Lu Qian that, don't you want to know about your father's situation? Lu Qian immediately responded, looking anxious. I asked their new development in my father's case. Seeing the anxious Lu Qian, Quan Yuchen looked smug. He reached out and wrapped his arm around Lu Qian's waist. Lu Qian, seeing Quan Yuchen so close to her, was very reserved. But Quan Yuchen pushed his luck. Hugging my own wife is perfectly natural. Lu Qian muttered under her breath. So can you tell me about my father's situation now? Quan Yuchen looked at Lu Qian with a mischievous glint in his EY. I asked this how you asked for a favor. Lu Qian looked at Quan Yuchen, who was hinting that his neck was sore and was speechless. She gritted her teeth, sat properly on Quan Yuchen's lap, and gave him a shoulder massage to help him relax. Seeing the obedient Lu Qian, Quan Yuchen smiled smugly. Your father's company's financial situation is probably the key to the case. Lu Qian had a sudden realization. Why uncle and my father's finance officer are together. They must be up to something. Quan Yuchen's shoulder ached from the massage. Why is this woman so strong? Lu Qian quickly apologized. Quan Yuchen didn't accept it. Lu Qian looked at Quan Yuchen impatiently. Quan Yuchen picked Lu Qian up in his arms. He placed her on the bed. Quan Yuchen's index finger gently traced Lu Qian's lips. Lu Qian, give me a son. Lu Qian responded, don't forget you promised to save my father. Quan Yuchen promised Lu Qian. The two then began their morning exercise. An hour later, leaning against the headboard, Quan Yuchen asked Lu Qian if she knew why he chose her. Lu Qian was puzzled. Quan Yuchen said earnestly, only by getting married can I get the management rights to the Quan Corporation. This marriage is just a transaction. We're just each taking what we need. Quan Yuchen planned to take Lu Qian back to the old family home tomorrow. Lu Qian was clearly not ready, but a new bride must eventually meet her in-laws. Outside the Quan family villa, Quan Yuchen reminded Lu Qian to cooperate well later, to make the old man believe their relationship was genuinely good. Lu Qian responded with a serious expression. Quan Yuchen felt more and more that he had married the right person. The two walked into the villa hand in hand. Inside the villa, not only was the entire Quan family present, but Lian Zi was also there today. Grandma Quan looked at Lu Qian with a happy expression. Quan Yuchen greeted his grandmother, with Lu Qian chiming in beside him. At this moment, Grandpa coughed twice, not believing Quan Yuchen's words. Lu Qian directly took out her 9.9 yuan marriage certificate and presented it to Grandpa Quan. Grandpa Quan opened it and looked, not bad. You have my style from when I was young. Over here, Grandma Quan was happily chatting with Lu Qian. She also took out a large red envelope and handed it to Lu Qian. Lu Qian nudged Quan Yuqian, not knowing if she should accept it. Receiving the signal, Quan Yuqian took the red envelope and vowed that he would definitely let his grandmother hold a great-grandchild. Hearing this, both Grandpa and Grandma beamed with joy. Beside them, Quan Yuqian's mother was comforting a jealous Lian Zi. Lu Qian looked at Lian Zi. It seemed this mother-in-law had long had her choice for a daughter-in-law. Quan Yuqian explained that he and Lu Qian were already a legal couple and told his mother not to cause any more trouble. Lian Zi broke down completely. Grandma Quan went forward to comfort Lian Zi. Quan Yuqian quickly led Lu Qian away from the hellish scene. Little did he know, his mother was already dissatisfied with Lu Qian. In Quan Yuqian's room on the second floor, Quan Yuqian praised Lu Qian for her good performance just now. Lu Qian kept looking around the room and asked about the Lian Zi from earlier. You clearly have a ready-made choice. Why did you choose me? Quan Yuqian felt that Lu Qian was questioning him. Lu Qian couldn't figure out Quan Yuqian's thoughts and turned her head, asking no more. In a domineering CEO fashion, Quan Yuqian directly pinned Lu Qian against the wall. Lu Qian, remember your status. Don't be nosy about things you shouldn't ask. Lu Qian raised her hand and pushed away Quan Yuqian's arm from in front of her, indicating she understood. Quan Yuqian looked at the pouting Lu Qian and found it very amusing. Lu Qian inadvertently saw a photo frame on the bookshelf. So Lian Zi and Quan Yuqian were childhood sweethearts. Quan Yuqian explained that it was taken in M country when they were children. You keep asking about Lian Zi. You're not jealous, are you? Lu Qian said, you're overthinking it. A knock sounded on the door. Lu Qian was about to open it. Quan Yuqian had a flash of inspiration. This won't do. He threw himself at Lu Qian. The two of them fell onto the bed. Lu Qian was in a panic. Quan Yuqian directly kissed Lu Qian. With a bang, Grandma Quan pushed open the door and walked in, calling the young couple down for dinner. Seeing Quan Yuqian and Lu Qian on the bed, Grandma Quan was embarrassed. Quan Yuqian immediately got up, complaining that his grandmother came in without knocking. At her old age, Grandma was also very embarrassed to see such a scene. After Grandma left, Quan Yuqian got up and adjusted his tie, telling Lu Qian to tidy up and follow him downstairs for dinner. Looking at Quan Yuqian, who was hot one moment and cold the next, Lu Qian felt a bitter taste in her heart. The whole family sat together, ready to eat. Grandpa told Z not to be reserved. Grandma asked Quan Yuqian when he planned to hold the wedding that don't wait until Qian is pregnant to do it. Grandma's words were shocking. The whole family looked at Lu Qian. Lu Qian, feeling embarrassed, repeatedly denied it. Quan Yuqian's mother slammed her chopsticks on the table and asked Lu Qian about her family situation. Quan Yuqian placated his mother, saying they wouldn't hold the wedding for now. Qian's father was imprisoned for some reason. Lu Qian also lowered her head. Hearing this news, the whole family was shocked. Quan Yuqian's mother loudly declared that the Quan family could not marry such a daughter-in-law. Lu Qian's head sank even lower. Quan Yuqian slowly squeezed Lu Qian's hand. He explained to everyone, Qian's father was framed. I've already arranged for a lawyer to investigate. The atmosphere was a bit tense. Quan Yuqian's mother, ignoring her husband's attempts to stop her, continued to ramble on. Lu Qian suddenly stood up, explaining that she wasn't feeling well and would be leaving first. After saying that, Lu Qian walked out without looking back. Quan Yuqian's mother was still relentless. Quan Yuqian felt his mother was being aggressive. He immediately got up to chase after Lu Qian. At that moment, Lu Qian was reaching the main gate. Quan Yuqian called out to Lu Qian, reminding her not to forget her mission. Lu Qian felt that Quan Yuqian was just as annoying as his mother. Quan Yuqian caressed Lu Qian's cheek, telling her to stop making a scene. Lu Qian angrily dodged Quan Yuqian's hand. Our agreement is only to get married and have children. It shouldn't include having to put up with your mother's attitude, right? Besides, my mission for today is already complete. Lu Qian strode forward. Inside the Lu family villa, Lu Wenhui complained to Zhou Fangfang. That bitch pulled out all my hair. Zhou Fangfang felt that Zhang Mingwei was useless, just watching as Lu Wenhui was beaten. Lu Wenhui gritted her teeth. That bitch Lu Qian actually found a powerful backer this time. Zhang Chunxiu and Lu Wenhui were both shocked. Lu Wenhui emphasized that she had latched onto Quan Yuqian's thigh. Zhou Fangfang was a little worried that Lu Qian would take the house back. Zhang Chunxiu looked with contempt at Zhou Fangfang, who only had the house on her mind. Lu Wenhui wondered what kind of taste that man had to actually fall for that bitch. Zhang Chunxiu gave a sinister smile. Men are all the same. If you can snatch Zhang Mingwei, then you can definitely snatch Quan Yuchen. Lu Wenhui looked at Zhang Chunxiu thoughtfully. Zhou Fangfang looked at Zhang Chunxiu, reminding her that Wenhui was about to marry Zhang Mingwei. Don't end up with nothing. Zhang Chunxiu confidently said, "What's so difficult about that? To string the Zhang family along for now. As long as Wenhui can win over that Quan Yuchen, who cares about the Zhang family?" Lu Wenhui was full of confidence that I will definitely snatch Quan Yuchen from that bitch's hands. Lu Wenhui's face darkened. Just you wait, Lu Qian. Your good days are coming to an end. Lu Qian returned home, looking exhausted. Before she could go upstairs, Quan Yuchen called out to her. Lu Qian turned around. She looked questioningly at Quan Yuchen, who was sitting on the sofa. Oh, you know what time it is. Lu Qian waved her hand. I'm back, aren't I? Quan Yuchen stood up and walked to Lu Qian's side. Reason? Lu Qian looked at Quan Yuchen, unfazed. No reason. I just didn't get to eat enough while dealing with your mother's attitude at your house. So I want to find something to eat. Quan Yuchen frowned, leaving the dinner table directly. Where are your manners? Lu Qian's expression immediately darkened. Is that important? Don't worry. I know how to fulfill the contract. After saying that, she walked towards her room, ignoring Quan Yuchen behind her. Lu Qian, you've got some nerve. The phone rang. Quan Yuchen picked up his phone. What is it? The voice on the other end said, Hello, young Master Quan. Regarding the plan to acquire the Lu Corporation, do you have any comments after reviewing it? Quan Yuchen replied, The plan is fine. We just need to speed it up. After hanging up, Quan Yuchen looked towards Lu Qian's room. Lu Qian, you brought all of this on yourself. Outside the villa, the sun was shining brightly. Lu Qian sat on the sofa, bored, watching TV. Suddenly, she saw a news report. Lu's electronics company, ever since its chairman Lu Haiping was reported for corruption. The company's capital chain has broken, and it will face a 50 million yuan breach of contract penalty. Lu Qian broke out in a cold sweat. How could this be? Lu Qian couldn't sit still. She had to go to the company to see what was happening. Lu Qian finally arrived at the company entrance. Ignoring the receptionist's attempts to stop her, Lu Qian strode into the company. A heated discussion could be heard from the conference room. Lu Haiyang was explaining his decision. The conference room door was forcefully pushed open. The person who came in was Lu Qian. Why is she here? Lu Qian retorted, This is my dad's company. Why can't I be here? Lu Haiyang waved his hand dismissively. Can't you see we're in a meeting discussing business? Get out now. So rude. Lu Qian said she wanted to stay and watch the meeting. The company was fine before. It's been less than 2 weeks since my dad's incident. How did the company's stock start to plummet? Lu Haiyang looked at Lu Qian with a hideous expression. Lu Qian, if it wasn't for your father's corruption and embezzlement of company funds, would the company be in this state? Lu Haiyang looked innocent. I'm kindly supporting the company, and now you're blaming me. Lu Qian sighed. Dear uncle, I think you're single-mindedly trying to ruin my dad's life's work, aren't you? His true intentions exposed. Lu Haiyang's face became unsightly, and he broke out in a cold sweat. He stood up, slammed the table, and pointed at Lu Qian, shouting, Don't make baseless accusations. I'm your uncle, after all. Is this how you talk to your elders? Lu Qian calmly replied that she had already found a lawyer, and her father would be out soon. Lu Haiyang's heart skipped a beat, and he stood there in a daze. Lu Qian looked at Lu Haiyang with a playful expression. Are you very disappointed? Pretending to be calm, Lu Haiyang said, I'm your father's older brother. Of course I'm happy he's okay. It's just that your father isn't out yet, so I'm temporarily representing the company. However, you're not an employee of the company, so please leave and don't disturb our meeting. Lu Qian turned around coolly, her hair flying, right? I'm not one now, but the company is my father's, so I will definitely be back. After leaving the Lu Corporation, Lu Qian arrived at Quan Yuchen's company. While marveling at how impressive Quan Yuchen's company was, Lu Qian told the receptionist she was looking for Quan Yuchen. The friendly receptionist asked Lu Qian if she had an appointment. Lu Qian, looking slightly awkward, said she didn't have an appointment. The receptionist, who had been very friendly just a second ago, instantly changed her expression and told her she couldn't go up without an appointment. Lu Qian became anxious. Left with no choice, the receptionist told Lu Qian that she was the third woman to come looking for President Quan today. If she let them all go up, she would lose her job. Lu Qian felt that what the receptionist said was indeed reasonable, but she was still inexplicably annoyed. She turned around, took out her phone, and dialed Quan Yuchen's number. The call went through. Lu Qian told Quan Yuchen that she was at his company's front desk and needed to see him about something. She heard the sound of the call being disconnected. Lu Qian was stunned. She yelled at the phone, "Quan Yuchen, you big liar! You never intended to help me at all." The receptionist watched Lu Qian's departing figure and sighed. Women these days, they think they can just come looking for President Quan because they're a little pretty. What a joke. Just then, the front desk phone rang. The receptionist picked up the phone. Afterwards, with a panicked look, she kept saying, "Yes, yes, yes. I'll bring her up right away." Lu Qian had just reached the company's main entrance when she heard the receptionist calling from behind her. Lu Qian turned her head and looked at the receptionist running towards her, not understanding what was happening. The receptionist ran up to Lu Qian, bowed with a smile, and apologized. "I'm so sorry about just now. President Quan has asked for you to go up." Lu Qian hastily replied, "It's okay, it's okay." But in her heart, she was lost in thought. Was that guy Quan Yuchen up to now? Lu Wenhui's voice echoed throughout the office. "Young Master Quan, that incident last time was a complete misunderstanding. I came here today just to explain it to you properly." Quan Yuchen sat in his seat, his face expressionless. "I just don't want you to be deceived by Lu Qian. Don't be fooled by her innocent look. She's not a good woman at all." Looking at Lu Wenhui in front of him, he thought, that stupid woman should be on her way up. I can't let her miss this good show. Lu Wenhui still thought she had successfully hooked Quan Yuchen. She brought up Lu Qian. Quan Yuchen came back to his senses. "What do you mean by that?" Lu Wenhui, who had moved closer, leaned on the desk and told Quan Yuchen with a seductive look that Lu Qian had seduced someone else's fiancée, and she had caught them in the act. Lu Wenhui did her best to act flirtatiously, hoping Quan Yuchen would believe her. Quan Yuchen looked at Lu Wenhui, who was playing the victim, and slowly said, "Someone else's fiancé. Was that the man who was with you that day?" Lu Wenhui was shocked. She reacted extremely quickly, feigning that she had been terribly wronged by that scumbag and that vile woman. Suddenly, the office door was thrown open by Lu Qian. She loudly asked Lu Wenhui what she meant. Lu Wenhui was extremely surprised. How could Lu Qian be here? Lu Qian replied to Lu Wenhui with a disdainful look, "If I didn't show up here, how would I know you're so good at twisting right and wrong?" Quan Yuchen watched Lu Qian confronting Lu Wenhui and thought, "You finally couldn't hold it in, could you? Lu Qian, let's see how you can still act tough with me." Lu Qian turned towards Quan Yuchen. "Do you believe what she said?" Quan Yuchen looked at Lu Qian. "Whether I believe it or not depends on your explanation." Lu Wenhui, standing to the side, was secretly delighted. What a great opportunity. It seems Quan Yuchen doesn't trust this wretched girl. Then, Lu Wenhui walked to the office door, turned back, and bid farewell to Quan Yuchen with a seductive look. A million curses ran through Lu Qian's mind. Quan Yuchen looked at the furious Lu Qian and couldn't help but tease her about being caught in the act. Lu Qian was so anxious that tears welled up in her eyes. She yelled at Quan Yuchen, "You were clearly the one who took my first time. How can you say something like that now?" Quan Yuchen enjoyed the drama and didn't mind making it worse. He continued to dance on Lu Qian's minefield. Lu Qian stubbornly bit her lip. "Forget it. None of this matters anymore." With a slap, she slammed her hand on the table and said to Quan Yuchen with a serious face, "Quan Yuchen, I came to you today to talk about something serious." Quan Yuchen twirled the pen in his hand and asked Lu Qian her purpose for coming to find him. Lu Qian, with a serious expression, stated, "I am already fulfilling the agreement." "But where is your action?" Quan Yuchen retorted, "Didn't you already meet my father?" Lu Qian slammed the table. Right now, Lu's electronics is facing an unprecedented crisis. I can't just ignore it. She thought to herself, I must do everything I can to resolve the company's predicament. Otherwise, when father gets out of prison, if the company no longer exists, it will undoubtedly be a heavy blow to him. However, Quan Yuchen appeared quite calm. He revealed to Lu Qian that for the Lu Corporation to return to normal now, It would require an investment of at least $100 million. However, looking at the current situation, Kuan Yu-chin stood up and walked over to Lu Qian's side. Just $100 million is enough to make the Lu Corporation change owners. Lu Qian stared at Kuan Yu-chin in shock. Kuan Yu-chin used his hand to pull her head closer to him. He told Lu Qian that if he intervened, the Lu Corporation would become a subsidiary of the Kuan Corporation. Kuan Yu-chin moved in to kiss Lu Qian. Lu Qian, in a daze, struggled free. She berated Kuan Yu-chin for his shameless behavior. You actually want to take over the Lu Corporation now. Kuan Yu-chin made Lu Qian understand that the current situation was different from before. Right now, this is a losing business. No one would be willing to do it, right? Lu Qian, furious, tightly gripped Kuan Yu-chin's collar. Kuan Yu-chin, you're taking advantage of my predicament. Kuan Yu-chin gently held Lu Qian's arms, telling her not to get agitated. Actually, I can also consider an exchange for shares in the Lu Corporation. Lu Qian couldn't understand. What do you want the company's shares for? Kuan Yu-chin straightened his shirt collar. Consider it. This is just a simple transaction. I've already made a big concession. In her mind, Lu Qian silently calculated the company's shareholding structure. She asked him doubtfully, how many shares do you want? Kuan Yu-chin held up two fingers that I don't want much. Just 20%. After all, you're my wife. I won't let you suffer a loss. Lu Qian looked at his two raised fingers, lost in thought that if it's only 20%, Dad will still be the largest shareholder. Then, Lu Qian decisively agreed. Within 3 days, I will get it done. She hoped Kuan Yu-chin would keep his promise. After saying this, she turned to leave. Suddenly, Kuan Yu-chin forcefully grabbed Lu Qian's hand and pulled her back. Lu Qian accidentally fell onto the sofa. Lu Qian warned Kuan Yu-chin, we are in the company right now. Kuan Yu-chin placed his hands on the sofa on either side of Lu Qian. This is my company. I could do whatever I want. Who dares to say no? Kuan Yu-chin thought to himself, the perfect excuse has arrived. How can I let her go so easily? The distance between the two grew closer and closer, their faces drawing nearer, hearts beating faster. Kuan Yu-chin gently lifted Lu Qian's chin. That we finished talking about our business matters. Should we talk about our private matters now? Lu Qian squinted her eyes, avoiding his gaze. What private matters are there between us? Kuan Yu-chin looked at her. Regarding what your sister said just now, don't you want to explain? Lu Qian reached out her hands, proactively wrapping them around Kuan Yu-chin's neck. What is there to explain? Whether you believe it or not has nothing to do with me. I am your husband now, Kuan Yu-chin said, touching her cheek. Yes, oh, you do care this much? Then Lu Qian slowly moved closer to him. We are only husband and wife in name. Lu Qian leaned close to his ear and whispered, asking if he was jealous. Kuan Yu-chin just wanted to remind her, during the contract period, you can only be my, Kuan Yu-chin's woman. Lu Qian's eyes widened as Kuan Yu-chin kissed her. Lu Qian bit his lip hard, causing Kuan Yu-chin to cover his mouth in pain and retreat. Lu Qian looked at Kuan Yu-chin. You haven't forgotten what I said, have you? There will be no feelings between us. Please don't get too into character. Then she got up to leave, bidding a polite farewell. Covering his mouth, Kuan Yu-chin watched her departing figure, silently chanting Lu Qian's name in his heart. Then he looked at his blood-stained fingers. As a wife, being disobedient will result in punishment. Outside the visitation room, Lu Qian waved her hand at Anan, indicating that she would go in by herself. The father and daughter finally met again. Lu Qian hoped her father would agree to let her temporarily manage the company on his behalf before she could get him out. Lu Haiping nodded and agreed. He knew well that Xianxian had suffered a lot because of him. Lu Qian, however, firmly stated that her main task now was to get him out as soon as possible. Lu Haiping lowered his head and sighed, saying he had no clue. Lu Qian moved closer to her father and told him in a low voice that she had already found some clues. Lu Haiping's eyes widened as he listened to her continue. She had discovered that her uncle, Lu Haiyang, and her father's finance director, Rin Ping, were lovers. Therefore, it was highly likely that they had secretly framed her father. Lu Haiping was shocked upon hearing this news. He angrily slammed the table and stood up, loudly denying that Rin Ping would do such a thing. However, Lu Qian insisted that Rin Ping was highly suspicious. At this moment, Lu Haiping suddenly remembered something else. He was more concerned about why Lu Qian was with Kuan Yu-chin. He looked at Lu Qian through the glass and asked if Kuan Yu-chin was trustworthy. Outside the visitation room, Anan reported to Kuan Yu-chin, Madam has been inside for over 10 minutes, but we can't hear their conversation. Kuan Yu-chin confidently told Anan not to worry, that everything was under his control. Inside the visitation room, the father and daughter were still talking. Lu Haiping told Lu Qian earnestly to be careful of Quan Yuqian because he was a man with a deep mind and ruthless, cold-blooded methods. The people who can deal with him are all very formidable characters. So Lu Qian, you must protect yourself. The scene shifts to Quan Yuqian's office. A Nan reports to him that Lu Qian has completed the handover of the 20% shares, and the acquisition of the scattered shares is also complete. Quan Yuqian stood before the floor-to-ceiling window and told Nan she did well. Then he added that before he took over the Lu Corporation, Lu Haiping would remain in prison. The scene shifts again to outside the Lu family home. A woman rang the doorbell, but no one answered. This woman was Lu Wenhui. She had previously slandered Lu Qian in front of Quan Yuqian, and now she had come here to find her. Lu Wenhui straightened up and said to Lu Qian, "I'm your sister. I just came to chat and visit today." But Lu Qian ignored her, took out her key card, swiped it, and went inside. The butler came out of the house to greet her. "Welcome home, Miss Lu." He also thanked her for her constant care for the family. At this moment, Lu Wenhui wanted to follow her in, but was stopped by the butler. The butler held out his hand to block her and told her this was a private residence and she could not enter. Blocked, Lu Wenhui yelled at the butler, but the butler calmly reminded her to watch her words. Then Lu Wenhui shouted at Lu Qian, saying she was her sister and demanding to be let in. But Lu Qian turned around and responded with a cold smile. She directly ordered the butler to get rid of her. Finally, Lu Wenhui stood outside the main gate, muttering to herself that Lu Qian had only managed to latch onto Quan Yuqian. In 2 months at most, she would definitely win Quan Yuqian over. By then, Lu Qian would be kicked out. Hearing this, Lu Qian's steps faltered for a moment, but she ultimately continued walking into the house. Lu Wenhui, on the other hand, made up her mind, declaring that she would definitely fire the butler and win over Quan Yuqian. Inside the Quan family mansion, Quan Yuqian returned home. He took off his suit jacket and handed it to Sister Zhou, casually asking about his wife, Lu Qian. Sister Zhou took the jacket and replied that Lu Qian was resting upstairs. According to Sister Zhou, Lu Qian seemed to be angry about something. Quan Yuqian was puzzled by this. In the bedroom, Lu Qian lay on the bed with her arms spread out, silently thinking that Quan Yuqian probably wasn't as shallow as Zhang Mingwei to be so easily seduced by Lu Wenhui. However, even though this was a transaction they were both aware of on this bed, she and Quan Yuqian were like an ordinary couple, entangled passionately every night. At this moment, Quan Yuqian, bare-chested, walked towards the bed. He had thought Lu Qian really didn't care about those words, and today she had even kicked him out. Lu Qian turned her head away without answering Quan Yuqian. She believed that men were only impressed by that kind of woman. Quan Yuqian sat on the edge of the bed. He must have hit the mark, which was why she was silent now. Quan Yuqian slowly hugged her from behind. "Earlier, you were fierce enough to bite my lip." Lu Qian decided to try something different tonight. Quan Yuqian sat up in surprise, eagerly anticipating her next move. Lu Qian also sat up, looking at Quan Yuqian with a teasing expression that "we can do what you like best." Then, she knelt in front of Quan Yuqian, placed her hand on his bare chest, and gave a firm push. Quan Yuqian fell back onto the bed in compliance, watching Lu Qian's next move. Lu Qian slowly untied her nightgown from her shoulders, letting it fall to her arms, and looked at Quan Yuqian with deep affection. The two gazed at each other affectionately. Quan Yuqian couldn't contain his excitement, sat up, grabbed Lu Qian's hands, wrapped his arm around her waist, and the two kissed passionately. At this moment, Quan Yuqian's perfunctory words came to Lu Qian's mind, but she still couldn't help but believe them. Thinking of this, Lu Qian interrupted their passionate moment. "That's all for today." Quan Yuqian looked at Lu Qian in surprise. He didn't understand why she would say that. Lu Qian explained with a mischievous smile, "What a coincidence, my period just came." Quan Yuqian was stunned, looking at Lu Qian with disbelief. "How can it be such a coincidence? Are you deliberately lying to me?" Lu Qian pulled the blanket and teased him. "Why don't you come and check, young Master Quan?" She put on a mask. She advised him to take care of his own problem first. "I've heard it's not good for a man's health to hold it in for too long." Then she waved, wished Quan Yuqian good night, and lay down. Quan Yuqian could only walk helplessly toward the bathroom. "That I'll let you off today. We have plenty of time." Through the glass, Quan Yuqian exclaimed, "This water is so cold." The next morning, Quan Yuqian woke up the still sleeping Lu Qian. Lu Qian slowly sat up, yawning, her eyes still sleepy, and looked at Kuan Yu-chin, who was getting dressed. She asked in confusion, "Why did you wake me up? You could just go to work by yourself." Kuan Yu-chin turned his head and told Lu Qian to hurry up and change. He explained that they were going to Lu Qian's father's company today. On a bright and sunny morning, Kuan Yu-chin and Lu Qian stood downstairs at the Lu Corporation building, both exuding a powerful aura. Lu Qian thought, "Today, I can finally take back Dad's company openly and honorably." Kuan Yu-chin said to Lu Qian, "Let's go in." Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone, the two strode into the company. The scene moves to the conference room. Lu Haiyang looked at Kuan Yu-chin with a puzzled expression. "Mr. Kuan, are you really going to invest a large sum of money into our Lu's electronics? You know, our company has had some issues recently." In Kuan Yu-chin's view, these were all minor issues. And today, he would inject 100 million into the Lu Corporation. However, he wanted to become the Lu Corporation's largest shareholder. Lu Haiyang and Lu Qian were shocked, thinking Kuan Yu-chin was joking. In Lu Haiyang and Lu Qian's eyes, the largest shareholder of the Lu Corporation had always been Lu Haiping. When did he become the largest shareholder? Kuan Yu-chin took out the share transfer agreements and threw them on the table, smiling. "How interesting. My offer to invest 100 million didn't excite you, but becoming the largest shareholder makes you so agitated. Actually, I should thank your former shareholders for this. Without their help, I wouldn't have so easily secured the top spot." Lu Qian was furious upon hearing this. She slammed the table and questioned Kuan Yu-chin. "What kind of joke is this?" She then picked up the share transfer agreements to look at them closely, her face filled with disbelief. She couldn't understand it. These are all the people Dad trusted the most. They all sold their shares to Kuan Yu-chin. Stunned, Lu Qian couldn't hold the share transfer agreements, and they scattered on the floor. Tears streamed from her eyes. She regretted selling herself out, only to end up handing her father's company over to Kuan Yu-chin. That despicable liar. Lu Haiyang began a scheme. He had thought that since Lu Haiping was the largest shareholder, as long as he placated Lu Qian, he could continue to be the acting chairman even without shares. Now it seemed, he then asked Kuan Yu-chin in the tone of a subordinate, "Young Master Kuan, you are a busy man. I'm very familiar with the company's affairs. How about I continue to manage it for you?" Kuan Yu-chin closed his eyes and told Lu Haiyang, "The matter of the shares has been clarified. Mr. Lu, you may leave." As for the position of acting chairman, Kuan Yu-chin arranged for Lu Qian to take it. Lu Haiyang was shocked and retorted, "How can that be? This girl Lu Qian knows nothing about company affairs. If it's in her hands, the company will be finished." Kuan Yu-chin turned around, put his arm around Lu Qian, and asked for her thoughts. "What do you think?" Lu Qian knew that putting her in such a high position was to make her Kuan Yu-chin's puppet. Lu Qian said nothing. Kuan Yu-chin slowly brought his mouth close to Lu Qian's ear. "Why not put away your anger for now and join forces with me to defeat this wolf? We can slowly talk about the matters between us later." Lu Qian clenched her fists and agreed to Kuan Yu-chin's proposal. Then, Kuan Yu-chin said to Lu Haiyang, "It doesn't matter if Lu Qian doesn't understand. With me, Kuan Yu-chin here, are you afraid there are problems that can't be solved?" Lu Haiyang was a little worried that Lu Qian would make things difficult for him after taking office. Seeing Lu Haiyang's expression, Lu Qian put on a harmless smile and told Lu Haiyang that he was better suited to return to his original position and continue to shine. Then her attitude became serious, and she told Lu Haiyang righteously, "You don't need to trouble yourself with the position of the company's acting chairman." Kuan Yu-chin, standing aside, covered his mouth and snickered, thinking that Lu Qian had gotten into character so quickly. Then Kuan Yu-chin instructed Lu Haiyang, on Chairman Lu Qian's orders, "Go and inform the managers of all departments to have a meeting before the end of the workday." Lu Haiyang, trembling, agreed and retreated. At the window, Kuan Yu-chin looked at Lu Qian. "I know what you're thinking, but I have to tell you, the business world is a battlefield, and I am just a businessman." Lu Qian believed that everything had been part of Kuan Yu-chin's scheme from the moment he met her. Then Kuan Yu-chin reached out, caressed Lu Qian's chin, and told her, "Without me, no one would invest 100 million to clean up your family's mess. And no one would help you take back the Lu Corporation, which is on the verge of falling apart. So you should thank me for fulfilling my promise." Lu Qian pushed Kuan Yu-chin's hand away, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. She grabbed Kuan Yu-chin's collar and roared, "Of course I have to thank you, Quan Yu-chen. Thank you for going to great lengths to help me get back the Lu Corporation. Thank you for letting my father's lifelong work become your trophy." Then she lowered her head sadly and said, "Thank you for letting me know what a fool I am." Quan Yu-chen calmly straightened his collar. While walking towards the door, he comforted Lu Qian. "Now that you've vented your negative emotions, you should think about how to get the Lu Corporation back on its feet. That's the right path. Don't worry. As the largest shareholder of the Lu Corporation, and as your husband, I will definitely do my best to help you." Lu Qian made a silent vow. Quan Yu-chen is right. I'm back at the company now. Finding the key evidence to save Dad is the most urgent matter. The scene changes. Zhou Fangfang answered the phone, listening with a shocked expression. The person on the other end said that Lu Qian had returned to the company and become the acting chairman. After hanging up, she turned to look at Lu Wenhui, who was drinking a beverage nearby. "Wenhui, how are things going with winning over Quan Yu-chen? That little bitch is already walking all over us." Lu Wenhui calmly reassured Zhou Fangfang, "Mom, don't worry. I've already gathered all sorts of information on Quan Yu-chen's preferences. As soon as I make my move, I'm guaranteed to win him over." Inside the Quan family mansion, on the desk in the study, files and account books from the Lu Corporation were piled high. Lu Qian was working diligently. Lu Qian stretched, feeling tired as she looked at the complex documents on the desk. Just then, Sister Zhou came in with coffee. Lu Qian said, "Thank you." Because it was getting late and Quan Yu-chen hadn't come home yet, Sister Zhou asked Lu Qian if she wanted to call Mr. Quan. Lu Qian replied nonchalantly, "He's a grown man. He won't get lost. What's the point of calling?" Then Sister Zhou left. Seeing that it was 11:15 p.m., Lu Qian took a sip of extra strong coffee, rolled up her sleeves, and prepared to finish all her work that night. 5 minutes later, Lu Qian was slumped over the desk, drooling and fast asleep. Moonlight shone into the study. The study door suddenly opened. It was Quan Yu-chen. He was back. He wondered why Lu Qian was still in the study so late. Quan Yu-chen stood beside Lu Qian, looking down. Just then, Lu Qian started talking in her sleep. "Quan Yu-chen, you big liar. I hate you." Quan Yu-chen was speechless. She was cursing him even in her dreams. This girl was really a handful. He then picked up the sleeping Lu Qian and carried her back to the bedroom. He placed her on the bed, tucked her in, and sat on the edge of the bed, covering Lu Qian with the blanket. He silently apologized to Lu Qian. "I shouldn't have dragged you into such a cruel business war." Quan Yu-chen stroked Lu Qian's cheek. He gently kissed her and then left the bedroom. Back in the study, Quan Yu-chen sat in front of the computer, lost in thought. Looking at the computer, he analyzed there are problems with all of Lu's electronic sales channels. The break in the capital chain was probably caused by this. It seems that besides Lu Haiping, the rest of the Lu Corporation are all useless. No wonder the acquisition went so smoothly. In a flash, it was the next day. Lu Qian slowly opened her eyes and saw that it was already light. She came to her senses and felt something was wrong. How did I end up in bed? She wondered if she had been sleepwalking from exhaustion. Never mind that for now. I need to hurry up and finish my work. Lu Qian got dressed and headed for the study. Upon entering the study, Lu Qian was somewhat shocked. How are all the files on the desk organized? On the desk was a list that read, corporate-related standards, regulations, and legal relations in the green folder. Financial statements from 2010 to 2019 in the teal folder. Lu Qian was puzzled. Could Quan Yu-chen have done this? Why would he do these things for me? Sister Zhou's voice came from behind her. "Madam, you're up." Lu Qian quickly asked, "Where's Quan Yu-chen?" Sister Zhou said that Sir came back very late last night. He left at 6 a.m. this morning. He said he's going on a business trip for a week. He saw you were sleeping soundly and didn't wake you. Listening to Sister Zhou's words, Lu Qian muttered to herself, "It must have taken all night to sort through all these files. Did he not sleep at all?" Then she reined in her thoughts. Stop. Why do I care so much about him? On second thought, he's going on a business trip for a week? He's probably off fooling around with Lu Wenhui. Arriving at the Lu Corporation, Lu Qian was in the restroom, looking at her phone. Although Quan Yu-chen had organized the files, she still couldn't find any problems. It seems that simply checking the accounts won't lead to any clues. She thought of a plan that I need to find a chance to get in touch with that finance director, Run Ping. Just then, a woman outside the restroom door was yelling into the phone to Lu Haiyang. Lu Qian was a bit puzzled that I asked that Ren Ping's voice. Outside the restroom, Ren Ping was on the phone, saying, "You said Lu Qian won't find out anything, right?" The person on the other end said, "How can I not be scared? All those things pass through my hands. If something goes wrong, I'll be the one to take the blame. I was scared when her dad got into trouble before. I really shouldn't have trusted you." Ren Ping angrily berated Lu Haiyang on the other end of the line. "How many times have you said that? You don't love me at all." In the restroom stall, Lu Qian was recording the conversation with her phone, thinking, "Just when I was worried about finding a breakthrough, you deliver yourself to my doorstep." Ren Ping gave Lu Haiyang an ultimatum: 2 weeks. "If you don't get a divorce, I'll go find Lu Haiyang's wife." Ren Ping said she was already pregnant. How dare Lu Haiyang do it but not take responsibility? After the call ended, Ren Ping slammed the restroom door and left. Lu Qian peeked out and saw she was gone. Her phone screen displayed 4 large words: "Sending complete." Lu Qian smiled and thought, "Auntie, I hope you like this big gift I'm sending you." In the Lu family's mansion, Zhou Fangfang's scream echoed. Apparently, she had received an audio recording. In the recording, Lu Haiyang was clearly accused of having an affair. Zhou Fangfang was furious about this. Lu Wenhui rushed over upon hearing the noise to ask what happened. After listening to the recording, she speculated that it might have been fabricated by Lu Qian. However, Zhou Fangfang still had her doubts, worrying whether Lu Haiyang was really having an affair. Lu Wenhui sensed Zhou Fangfang's concern and decided to go to the company to find Lu Qian and demand a face-to-face confrontation. If Lu Qian had fabricated the recording, Lu Wenhui declared that she would not let her get away with it. The scene shifts to Lu Qian's office. At this moment, she was waiting for Lu Wenhui's arrival. She was already prepared to deal with Lu Wenhui and looked forward to winning this confrontation. Sure enough, just as Lu Qian had predicted, Lu Wenhui arrived at her office on time. Lu Wenhui burst into Lu Qian's office. This time, her attitude was even more severe. She held up her phone and played the recording from earlier, questioning Lu Qian about why she had sent such a recording to her mother. Lu Qian just waved her hand and stated calmly that she was just giving a kind reminder, but it wasn't well received. Lu Qian asked Secretary to call Ren Ping in. She had some accounting matters to ask Ren Ping about. While waiting for Ren Ping, Lu Wenhui started showing off to Lu Qian again about her close relationship with Quan Yuchen. Lu Wenhui proudly preened, boasting to Lu Qian that she had been dining with Quan Yuchen frequently lately. "He won't just stay by your side." Listening to Lu Wenhui's words, Lu Qian was filled with doubt. She didn't know how much of what Lu Wenhui said was true and how much was false. She wanted to know Quan Yuchen's true thoughts, but didn't dare to easily believe anyone's words. At this moment, Ren Ping walked into Lu Qian's office. Noticing she had a guest, she politely told Lu Qian to tend to her own business first and that she would come back later. Lu Wenhui heard this woman's voice and realized it was identical to the one from the phone earlier, leaving her shocked and confused. Lu Wenhui immediately grabbed Ren Ping's collar and started cursing at her, calling her a vixen. Ren Ping retorted under the circumstances, trying to get Lu Wenhui to let go of her and saying she didn't know what Lu Wenhui was talking about. Faced with Ren Ping's persistent denial, Lu Wenhui decided to take action to teach her a lesson. Suddenly, she slapped Ren Ping across the face. Ren Ping was knocked to her knees, crying bitterly and repeatedly saying, "I didn't, I'm not." Lu Wenhui continued to press her, telling the shameless woman not to cry. "You, the other woman, want to use a child to force your way in? You dare to destroy someone else's family? Today, I must teach you a lesson." Finally, she decided to get rid of the baby in her belly, raising her foot to kick Ren Ping's stomach. At this, Lu Qian couldn't watch anymore. She slammed the table, stood up, and berated Lu Wenhui. "That's enough. This is my company. It's not your place to run wild. I don't care what issues you have with Director Ren, but right now, she is my employee. I will not let my people be harmed in any way." Lu Qian walked towards Ren Ping, sneering sarcastically. For Lu Wenhui to have a nerve to look down on a mistress is truly an eye-opener. Lu Wenhui was rendered speechless. At this moment, Lu Qian slowly helped Ren Ping up. Then, Lu Haiyang also rushed in after hearing the commotion. He looked at Lu Wenhui and asked why she was at the company at the same time. "Everyone in the company heard you making a scene here. Lu Wenhui was also accused of having the same character as her mother, only knowing how to throw tantrums. Lu Wenhui turned and questioned Lu Haiyang. "What's going on with you and this woman? Explain yourself." Lu Haiyang pointed out that Lu Wenhui's words were absurd and immediately started pulling her outside. At the same time, he stressed that she should go home immediately, scolding her for her shameful behavior. Lu Wenhui firmly resisted Lu Haiyang's actions, demanding a clear explanation. Lu Haiyang glanced at Renping and calmly told her, "I don't have a so-called mistress. Please don't easily believe rumors." At this time, Lu Qian comforted Renping, telling her that no matter what happened, she believed she had her reasons. She then arranged for her secretary to accompany Renping to the hospital. Lu Qian thought Renping should have seen the true colors of Lu Haiyang's family by now. "I hope she can make the right decision." Lu Qian stood outside the company, silently planning her next move. She knew that the people who were supposed to be lured had taken the bait. Those who were supposed to show their true colors had already done so. The investigation she planned to conduct next should become much easier. She couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. This is what it feels like to control the fate of others. She seemed to be starting to understand Quan Yuchen. She couldn't help but ask herself, will I one day become like Quan Yuchen? The old Quan family mansion was brightly lit. Lu Qian was meticulously dressed up for Grandma Quan's birthday banquet. Grandma Quan happily accepted the gift Lu Qian had prepared and expressed her gratitude. When presenting the gift, Lu Qian said she hoped Grandma Quan wouldn't mind that Quan Yuchen couldn't attend the banquet because he was on a business trip abroad. Grandma Quan did not express any dissatisfaction with this. As long as her granddaughter-in-law was by her side, she was content. Grandma Quan took Lu Qian's hand and held it in her palm. Lu Qian felt Grandma Quan's affection. This was the first time since she was a child that she had experienced a grandmother's care. However, this warm scene was shattered by the appearance of Lian Zi. Lian Zi and her parents came together to offer their warm congratulations to Grandma Quan. Lu Qian noticed that Lian Zi was very appropriately dressed, exuding an air of obedience. However, Lian Zi didn't seem to want to remain silent. Her determined gaze met Lu Qian's, making the atmosphere a bit subtle. To resolve the awkwardness, Lian Zi immediately handed her gift to Grandma Quan. But at this moment, she didn't see any sign of Quan Yuchen. In Grandma Quan's eyes, Lu Qian was the sole focus. Zi was both angry and jealous. The dazzling array of delicious food left Lu Qian in a dilemma. She didn't know what to choose. And today was Grandma Quan's birthday, but Quan Yuchen hadn't appeared. According to Lian Zi, Quan Yuchen was abroad visiting Quan Zheng. Lu Qian was puzzled by this. Who is Quan Zheng? Lian Zi took this opportunity to mock Lu Qian. Lu Qian was confused by Lian Zi's sudden appearance. She was also saying that Quan Yuchen didn't love her at all. Lu Qian fell helpless in the face of Lian Zi, who had already fallen under Quan Yuchen's spell. She pointed out that whether Quan Yuchen loved her or not, at least she was already married to him. However, Lian Zi became even more furious upon hearing these words. She accused Lu Qian of using improper means to force Quan Yuchen to marry her. Lian Zi's tolerance for alcohol was really poor. Lu Qian didn't want to get entangled with a drunk person in this situation, so she went to the second-floor balcony for some fresh air. Unexpectedly, Lian Zi followed her up. Lu Qian felt helpless. She asked Lian Zi why she kept pestering her and tried to understand what she really wanted. Lian Zi, however, told Lu Qian not to be too confident. One day, Brother Chen will realize he doesn't love you and will eventually choose to divorce you. Lu Qian nonchalantly stated, "Then let's get a divorce." It's very normal for young people to get divorced these days. It's no big deal. Besides, Quan Yuchen is just a businessman who plays with people's hearts. He's not worth spending my life with. Since you don't care either, why did you marry him? Lian Zi broke down emotionally. You have no idea how much I love Brother Chen. Lu Qian found it both funny and exasperating. Isn't that a question you should be asking Quan Yuchen? Lian Zi thought about how Quan Yuchen couldn't marry the person he loved and cried even more sorrowfully. Lu Qian was shocked to learn that Quan Yuchen also had a woman he truly loved. That woman was neither Lian Zi nor herself. The person Quan Yuchen truly loved was Quan Zheng. However, upon hearing this, Lu Qian felt a sense of relief. Is Quan Zheng the woman Quan Yuqian truly loves? In the Quan family villa, laughter and joy filled the air. Grandma Quan and Lu Qian warmly entertained all the guests present. Just as they were about to cut the cake, Quan Yuqian returned. Seeing Lu Qian getting along so well with everyone, Quan Yuqian was overjoyed. Considering that Lu Qian had been separated from him for a long time, Quan Yuqian thought this was the perfect moment for a reunion. So he looked at Lu Qian with deep affection, waiting for her to fall into his arms. Lu Qian stood beside Grandma Quan with a puzzled expression. After a slight hesitation, she prepared to walk towards Quan Yuqian, but then suddenly changed her mind and stopped in her tracks. Grandma Quan looked at Lu Qian's behavior and felt quite helpless. Lianzi suddenly rushed forward and, without any shyness, hugged Quan Yuqian tightly, joyfully exclaiming, "Brother Quan, you're back." Quan Yuqian was completely bewildered and at a loss. Lu Qian, how could you let another woman have the chance to hug me? He immediately shook off Lianzi's hands. Grandma Quan came over with the cake, hoping that after Lianzi had some cake, she would stop pestering her grandson. Quan Yuqian apologized to his grandmother for being late and took the opportunity to show concern for Lu Qian that you've worked hard at home today. Lu Qian took a small spoonful of cake and fed it to Quan Yuqian. Quan Yuqian cooperated and ate it. Lianzi, watching from the side, puffed up her cheeks in anger and bid farewell to Grandma Quan. Grandma Quan sighed as she watched Lianzi's departing figure. Grandma Quan told Quan Yuqian and Lu Qian that it was getting late and they should rest at the old mansion for the night. In the room, Lu Qian stated angrily that she needed to rest. Quan Yuqian looked surprised, moved forward, and pinned Lu Qian beneath him, whispering criticism in her ear. Your performance today was poor. You weren't looking forward to my return at all. Lu Qian immediately retorted, look forward to you continuing to deceive me. Quan Yuqian frowned deeply. Are you still holding a grudge over the company matter? Without my intervention, your family's company would have likely gone bankrupt in an instant. Lu Qian's heart was filled with pain. For him, he only remembered the contract, while Quan Zheng was the one he loved. Quan Yuqian was already eager to proceed to the next step. However, Lu Qian still had doubts, wanting to know if Quan Yuqian was hiding more things from her. Quan Yuqian was dismissive of this. His indifference shattered Lu Qian's heart. What was she expecting? What did anything about Quan Yuqian have to do with her? Since that was the case, Lu Qian decided to peacefully fulfill the contract. Lu Qian tightly gripped Quan Yuqian's collar and kissed him without hesitation. Quan Yuqian responded with equal passion. However, a determined light shone in Lu Qian's eyes. She was determined to regain control of the Lu Corporation for herself and her father. Quan Yuqian took off his clothes, revealing his perfect physique to Lu Qian. Their hands intertwined. 10,000 words are omitted here. After the indescribable events, Quan Yuqian gazed at the sleeping Lu Qian. He felt a deep sense of confusion, but he had to admit that Lu Qian was indeed an irresistible enchantress. These days, even the little birds in the trees come in pairs. Lu Qian slept peacefully in Quan Yuqian's arms. A sudden wave of heat washed over her, waking Lu Qian from her deep sleep. She suddenly realized that it was Quan Yuqian who had been holding her tightly all night. How did Quan Yuqian manage to stay awake in such a hot environment? Lu Qian quietly watched Quan Yuqian sleep. She discovered that Quan Yuqian could also show a gentle side in his sleep. This surprised her. She couldn't help but reach out, wanting to stroke Quan Yuqian's brow. But just before her hand touched him, Quan Yuqian suddenly opened his eyes. He greeted Lu Qian with his usual gentleness. Lu Qian felt a bit awkward, but still politely returned Quan Yuqian's greeting. Quan Yuqian didn't understand why Lu Qian, who had enjoyed it so much last night, was so shy now. He moved closer to Lu Qian's ear and whispered, "It's still very early. We have plenty of time." At this moment, Quan Yuqian was as if possessed by Daji, or perhaps Lu Qian was. Lu Qian's heart, meanwhile, was filled with all sorts of helplessness and emotion. Suddenly, Lu Qian's face turned pale in an instant. 1 second she was laughing and talking, the next she was clutching her stomach in pain. Quan Yuqian felt helpless. He immediately picked up Lu Qian, preparing to take her to the hospital. However, Lu Qian refused him, saying she had just had some wine last night and caught a bit of a chill. It wasn't serious. Some stomach medicine would be enough. Quan Yuchen looked at the stubborn Lu Qian and could only helplessly tell her to lie down and rest. Wait for me to come back. Watching the hastily departing Quan Yuchen, Lu Qian remembered how her father had cared for her just like this when she was sick as a child. Tears of emotion welled up in her eyes. However, she quickly came to her senses, realizing that Quan Yuchen's concern for her might have an ulterior motive. She couldn't easily fall for his false care. Quan Yuchen returned with hot water and stomach medicine, urging Lu Qian to take it quickly. If her condition didn't improve, he would have to take her to the hospital. Lu Qian was extremely resistant to going to the hospital and hoped Quan Yuchen would get back to work as soon as possible. Quan Yuchen saw Lu Qian's pale face and couldn't focus on work. He got into the bed. He carefully rubbed Lu Qian's abdomen, constantly muttering that Lu Qian was already so grown up but still didn't know how to take care of herself. Lu Qian felt that at this moment, Quan Yuchen was just like her father. Quan Yuchen teased Lu Qian, "Like your father? But I've never seen you listen to me." He rolled over, propping himself up on either side of Lu Qian, their eyes meeting. Lu Qian felt he was taking advantage of her. Quan Yuchen smiled, mysteriously saying he would tell her later. Then he lowered his head and kissed Lu Qian. In the evening, Quan Yuchen asked Sister Zhou about the dinner preparations. Sister Zhou said it wasn't cooked yet and asked about the young master and madam's dietary needs. Quan Yuchen took a stomach-soothing menu out of his pocket and requested that Annie add a stomach-soothing soup to every meal from now on. Lu Qian watched Quan Yuchen discussing her diet with Annie and was deeply moved. To receive the sincere care of a man like Quan Yuchen would be extremely blissful. However, she could never be that lucky person. Lu Qian wanted Quan Yuchen to drop his false mask and face her honestly. She wanted to know his true inner thoughts and her place in his heart. Lu Qian was sitting in the CEO's office of the Lu Corporation building. The secretary brought in the financial and departmental reports. Quan Yuchen listened quietly by her side. The secretary reported this week's schedule to Lu Qian. After the report was finished, the secretary leaned close to Lu Qian and informed her in a low voice that Director Run had taken leave for some reason. Considering what happened with Director Lu last week, rumors were now rampant within the company. Lu Qian immediately instructed the secretary to prevent the situation from escalating further. She also made it clear that if any department heads were unable to effectively manage their subordinate employees, they would be dismissed. Quan Yuchen watched the exchange between Lu Qian and the secretary from the side. After the secretary left, Lu Qian showed a state of exhaustion, touching her forehead with a bitter smile. Seeing Lu Qian's fatigue, Quan Yuchen couldn't help but remark that her adaptability was quite strong, and she had her own way of managing the company. Hearing this, Lu Qian seemed intrigued and replied helplessly that she had no choice, especially with this hungry wolf watching her from behind. Quan Yuchen couldn't help but laugh after hearing this. Did she really see him as a monster? He was more than willing to help share some of her burden. Quan Yuchen asked Lu Qian for the specific details of the incident. Lu Qian stated that it wasn't a major incident. She had merely informed Zhou Fangfang of Renping and Lu Haiyang's secret affair in order to find a breakthrough. Seeing the clever scheme Lu Qian had displayed, Quan Yuchen was quite surprised. Under such heavy pressure, she could still think of such a sow discord strategy. Lu Qian humbly stated that this was the result of being influenced by spending a long time with a certain someone. Quan Yuchen remarked meaningfully that he himself wasn't that capable. At this moment, the phone rang. After answering, the secretary informed Quan Yuchen that Zhou Fangfang and Lu Wenhui wished to meet with Lu Qian. Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian were both surprised. Why had this mother-daughter pair suddenly become so well-behaved? Quan Yuchen breathed a sigh of relief. He felt that it shouldn't be difficult for Lu Qian to handle those two women. Looking at Quan Yuchen, who was preparing to leave her to handle matters alone, she recalled that he had just been discussing sharing the burden with him. Quan Yuchen smiled slightly and told her to find him in the lounge after she finished her business. Lu Qian felt a wave of disgust at this. It was obviously not a good thing. Only a fool would go. At this moment, Zhou Fangfang and Lu Wenhui walked in angrily, questioning Lu Qian about what she had done. Seeing the two of them being so well-behaved for the first time, Lu Qian slowly asked them what was wrong. Zhou Fangfang threw a tantrum, telling her to cut the crap, and asking why Ren Ping hadn't been fired yet. Lu Qian stated that she was already aware of Ren Ping's matter, but if she were to be fired, then the elder uncle must also be fired. Zhou Fangfang continued to yell on what grounds? It's clearly Ren Ping who's in the wrong. Just then, Quan Yuchen's voice was heard. He said it takes two to tango in such matters. The three of them looked towards Quan Yuchen together. The company promises not to favor either side. If the decision is to dismiss them, both should be dismissed at the same time. Quan Yuchen, with a serious expression, stared at the mother and daughter. Seeing the sudden appearance of Quan Yuchen, Lu Wenhui was inwardly delighted, and even Zhou Fangfang was surprised. Lu Wenhui quickly stepped forward, confidently displaying her unique charm, intending to take the opportunity to touch Quan Yuchen's chest. But Quan Yuchen waved his hands, rejecting her touch. Lu Wenhui's honey trap had failed. She stood frozen on the spot. At this point, Lu Qian spoke up, pointing out that either the matter would not be dealt with, or both of them would be dismissed at the same time. After speaking, she gave the order for them to leave. If they still didn't go, security would be called to escort them out. Lu Wenhui was unwilling to give up, trying to persuade Quan Yuchen not to believe those baseless rumors. However, Quan Yuchen's gaze turned cold, and he stated that if there were any more such improper remarks, he would no longer tolerate baseless gossip. He would not believe her. Lu Wenhui tried to argue, but was pulled away by Zhou Fangfang. As she was leaving, she stared daggers at Lu Qian. Lu Qian, on her office chair, fearlessly returned her gaze. She was satisfied with this joint effort with Quan Yuchen. That mother and daughter pair could forget about provoking me again. In an ambulance, Ren Ping was rushed to the emergency room. After receiving a call, Lu Qian and Quan Yuchen hurried to the hospital. Outside the operating room, Lu Qian was extremely worried about Ren Ping and her child. Her body trembled uncontrollably, her mind filled with the scene of the rescue on the day her mother passed away. Quan Yuchen pulled the terrified Lu Qian into his arms, gently comforting her. Don't be afraid. With me here, everything will be all right. After the surgery, the doctor came out looking for the patient's family. They stated that the multiple external injuries on the patient's body had been mostly treated, but the baby in the pregnant woman's belly could not be saved. Lu Qian felt deeply responsible for this. If she hadn't been pulling strings behind the scenes, this child might not have been lost. Quan Yuchen told Lu Qian that none of this was her fault. No one could have predicted that things would develop to this point. She must pull herself together and stop blaming herself, because she had more important responsibilities to fulfill. He believed she had the ability to recover. Her father was still waiting for her. Lu Qian decided to visit Ren Ping and take the responsibility she should bear. Quan Yuchen looked at the revitalized Lu Qian and felt very relieved. He would always stand behind her. Lu Qian's gaze towards Quan Yuchen was filled with gratitude. In the hospital room, Lu Qian expressed her deep concern for Ren Ping. However, Ren Ping felt extremely ashamed and guilty because she had been Lu Haiyang's mistress, and Lu Haiyang's feelings for her were merely to satisfy his personal needs. What was even more heartbreaking was that when Ren Ping was being beaten by Lu Wenhui, Lu Haiyang did not intervene. Ren Ping was even pregnant with Lu Haiyang's child. Facing such a painful experience, Ren Ping was filled with deep regret, unable to understand why she had believed in a man so disloyal to his family. Lu Qian felt very helpless about this. She felt that Ren Ping should break off her relationship with Lu Haiyang, and she would do her utmost to help her. Ren Ping's eyes were filled with tears. She decided to completely break off her relationship with him and expose all the immoral things he had done to the public. Seeing this, Lu Qian immediately told her to lie down. However, Ren Ping became even more agitated after hearing this and knelt directly in front of Lu Qian, repenting ceaselessly. She said she was truly sorry to her and sorry to her father. Ren Ping, with tears streaming down her face, begged for Lu Qian's forgiveness. Lu Qian breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this. Pretending not to know what had happened, she asked Ren Ping what exactly she had done. At this point, Ren Ping confessed everything. Her father was in prison because she had falsified the accounts, and Lu Haiyang had used these false accounts to report her father. Lu Qian raised a question. Why didn't the book show any problems? Ren Ping admitted that she was the one who had covered up the loopholes. This was all Lu Haiyang's plan. All the money went into Lu Haiyang's pocket. She was in love at the time and made a mistake in a moment of confusion. Lu Qian clenched her fists tightly, her eyes already filled with tears. She loudly questioned Ren Ping. Had she ever thought about the consequences of her actions? She had ruined her family. Her father was sentenced to prison because of it. Her mother passed away from a sudden heart attack. Her home was taken over by those wolf-like relatives. All of this was because of her foolish love. Ren Ping cried uncontrollably. She had already paid the price for her actions. She begged Lu Qian to forgive her and give her a chance to make up for everything she had done. Seeing this, Lu Qian gently reached out and wiped away Ren Ping's tears. She told Ren Ping that what's past is past and she could forgive her. But there was one condition. She must hand over all the evidence she had to her. She wanted to make Lu Haiyang and his family receive the punishment they deserved. Inside the Lu Corporation building, Lu Qian finally successfully obtained the ledgers and physical evidence. This gave her the ability to rescue her father from prison. However, she still had a doubt in her heart. Why would Ren Ping voluntarily go to the police station to turn herself in? Ren Ping believed her sins were grave and now just wanted to atone for them by surrendering. She was determined to personally send Lu Haiyang to prison. This was all because of Lu Haiyang. Ren Ping could no longer become a mother. She said she would never forgive Lu Haiyang in this lifetime. Lu Qian felt deep pity for Ren Ping. Kuan Yuchen was reviewing the evidence. Lu Qian was anxious to get her father out and hoped to hand over the evidence to the lawyer as soon as possible. However, Kuan Yuchen thought there was no need to rush and they should wait and see. But Lu Qian couldn't wait. She believed that since they had both witness testimony and physical evidence, why should they still wait? Kuan Yuchen thought her understanding of the issue was too superficial and she hadn't thought it through. But Lu Qian felt Kuan Yuchen was just pretending to be profound. Lu Qian tightly grabbed Kuan Yuchen's tie, telling him to explain the truth. With no other choice, Kuan Yuchen could only surrender. If Ren Ping has a change of heart and protects Lu Haiyang, then we won't be able to take any action against him. Lu Qian didn't believe that after suffering such a misfortune, Ren Ping would still choose to protect Lu Haiyang. Kuan Yuchen asked Lu Qian to remain calm, because one can never be too careful. Looking at the rational and cold Kuan Yuchen, Lu Qian couldn't help but feel a pang of bitterness in her heart. Having learned of Kuan Yuchen's whereabouts, Lu Wenhui searched for him everywhere. She had to win over Kuan Yuchen to achieve her ambitions. Eventually, she found him. He was sitting in his usual spot, seriously savoring his coffee. Kuan Yuchen glanced out of the corner of his eye and noticed a sneaky woman. It turned out to be Lu Wenhui. After being caught, Lu Wenhui had no choice but to step out from the corner and greet Kuan Yuchen. She decided to just go for broke. She plopped down and began to complain tearfully to Kuan Yuchen in a feigned manner. Kuan Yuchen, looking at the actress like Lu Wenhui, quickly tried to send her away. But Lu Wenhui became even more invested in her performance. This made Kuan Yuchen increasingly impatient. At an emotional point, Lu Wenhui grabbed Kuan Yuchen's hand, trying her best to exude charm. Kuan Yuchen was disgusted by her actions. Seeing Kuan Yuchen's cold gaze, Lu Wenhui quickly let go of his hand. Kuan Yuchen was very impatient and finally said he was willing to give her a chance. Lu Wenhui was instantly overjoyed and nodded repeatedly in agreement. Kuan Yuchen politely invited Lu Wenhui to lunch tomorrow, emphasizing that she must not be late. After Kuan Yuchen left, Lu Wenhui revealed a victor's smile. She knew she could definitely win him over. Outside the coffee shop, Kuan Yuchen took out his phone. With a playful look, he invited Zhang Mingwei to discuss a business deal together tomorrow. The next day, a meticulously dressed Lu Wenhui saw a family arguing fiercely downstairs. She walked over to stop them and confidently announced that she had successfully won over Kuan Yuchen and made him accept her. Lu Haiyang and Zhou Fangfang were very surprised by this. Lu Wenhui, however, firmly told them that she would not fail. She would continue to work hard to make Kuan Yuchen divorce Lu Qian. Outside a 5-star hotel, Kuan Yuchen arrived early with Lu Qian. Lu Qian couldn't figure out why Kuan Yuchen had suddenly decided to treat her to a meal out of the blue. Who knew that Kuan Yuchen would take her directly to the presidential suite? Kuan Yuchen mysteriously invited Lu Qian to watch a good show. Lu Qian thought it might be an opera or a ballet. Quan Yuchen leaned in and replied that of course. It was a good show tailored just for her. Lu Qian didn't know what he had up his sleeve. It couldn't be something unsuitable for all ages, could it? Quan Yuchen was about to go out, and Lu Qian protested. Was Quan Yuchen playing with her? What kind of good show was this? The actors are about to arrive. Please look forward to it. After saying this, Quan Yuchen left. Lu Qian discovered that Quan Yuchen had left the door ajar for her and instantly understood that he wanted her to observe in secret. Lu Qian felt as if she were a thief. Lu Wenhui walked into the room. She was dressed in a glamorous outfit and walked vibrantly up to Quan Yuchen. Lu Wenhui deliberately made an excuse to take off her jacket, revealing her cleavage. She told Quan Yuchen that she was late and should penalize herself with a drink. Then she picked up a wine glass and walked over to Quan Yuchen. Lu Qian, watching the spectacle through the crack in the door, felt very awkward and uneasy. Seeing the intimate interaction between Quan Yuchen and Lu Wenhui, she felt that this pair's behavior was improper and disgusting. She thought Quan Yuchen was doing this to humiliate her. Quan Yuchen said that being late is a woman's prerogative. Lu Wenhui smiled charmingly. She also wanted to curry favor with him. Young Master Quan, do you like me more or Lu Qian? The nearby Lu Qian was shocked. She really wanted to rush out and kill these two. Watching Lu Wenhui's flirtatious display, Quan Yuchen decided to ignore her. He took a glass of 82 Lafite and splashed it directly in Lu Wenhui's face. In his eyes, Lu Wenhui was worthless. Lu Qian was stunned by Quan Yuchen's action, and Lu Wenhui, with a face full of wine, was also shocked. Just then, Zhang Mingwei walked over, cursing Lu Wenhui as a shameless bitch. Lu Wenhui hurriedly tried to explain, but Zhang Mingwei wouldn't listen to a word. He slapped Lu Wenhui across the face. Lu Qian's observation through the door crack made her finally understand. It turned out this was a good show meticulously planned by Quan Yuchen. His purpose was simply to make her feel gratified. Quan Yuchen immediately went to seek praise. However, Lu Qian felt that Quan Yuchen and Lu Wenhui's performance was too fake and unrealistic. If there was no sense of reality, then how could watching a show bring any pleasure? The good show is over. Now it's time to enjoy some delicious food. Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian prepared to go enjoy a French feast, while Lu Wenhui was still begging Zhang Mingwei for forgiveness. Their fate was already sealed. This was their end. In a romantic restaurant, Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian were enjoying a French feast. However, Lu Qian seemed to have something on her mind, appearing absent-minded while cutting her foie gras. Noticing this, Quan Yuchen thoughtfully cut the food and fed it to Lu Qian. Lu Qian responded shyly and ate the foie gras offered by Quan Yuchen with a look of proud coyness. Quan Yuchen asked Lu Qian with a smile how the foie gras tasted, but Lu Qian, being contrary, replied that it was terrible. Quan Yuchen struck while the iron was hot, telling Lu Qian that her father could be released from prison tomorrow. Hearing this news, Lu Qian was overjoyed. She even cried tears of joy, her eyes welling up. Quan Yuchen's heart ached for her, and he immediately handed her a handkerchief. After her emotions stabilized, Lu Qian complained that he had taken her family's company, and that she was the one who had obtained all the evidence. Quan Yuchen disagreed, emphasizing that he had put in a lot of effort. Lu Qian could only give a helpless, perfunctory response. Quan Yuchen didn't want to argue with Lu Qian and prepared to take her away. He extended his hand, inviting Lu Qian to watch another great show that was about to begin. Another show? Lu Qian reached out her hand in response. What other tricks did he want to play? Quan Yuchen took Lu Qian to the Lu family home. It was time for the Lu family home to be returned to its rightful owner. Lu Qian had waited a long time for this day. It wasn't long before they arrived at the Lu residence. At this point, however, Quan Yuchen told Lu Qian to get out of the car by herself. He felt that Lu Qian could now stand on her own, and he would only get in her way. Lu Qian could only give a dry laugh. Quan Yuchen, unafraid of death, wished Lu Qian good luck. Standing at the door, Lu Qian lamented how time flies. In just a few months, things had changed so much. The doorbell rang. Zhou Fangfang, who was applying a face mask, thought it was Lu Wenhui who had forgotten her keys again and came to open the door, grumbling. The person outside was actually Lu Qian. Ignoring Zhou Fangfang's attempts to block her, Lu Qian strode straight in. How could she not enter her own home as she pleased? Zhang Chunxiu walked out with a shocked expression. What a wind has blown this jinx here today. Lu Qian reminded her grandmother of what she had said. She would take back all of this. Zhang Chunxiu was first startled, then burst out laughing. This wicked creature actually wanted to kick her out. Even her father wouldn't dare to kick her out. Lu Qian replied, "Do you still remember my father, Mr. Lu Haiping? Well, I can tell you that he will be declared innocent and released tomorrow." This news instantly threw Zhang Chunxiu and Zhou Fangfang into shock. Zhang Chunxiu angrily berated her. What right does a bastard picked up from who knows where have to boss people around in the Lu family? Lu Qian was stunned upon hearing these words. A bastard picked up from somewhere. Zhang Chunxiu kept roaring. Could that woman who was on medication all year round really give birth to a child? You're just a bastard they brought back from outside. The one who should get out is you. Quan Yuchen's voice suddenly came through. Who are you telling to get out? The three of them turned in unison towards the door. After watching for so long, Quan Yuchen finally walked in. He wanted to know who they wanted to get out. Zhang Chunxiu and Zhou Fangfang found this incredible. Shouldn't Quan Yuchen be with Wenwei? Given the Quan family's background, how could they allow Lu Qian, with her unknown origins, to marry into the family? In terms of graceful and proper demeanor, Lu Qian clearly couldn't compare to Wenhui. Quan Yuchen let out a cold laugh, thinking that the Quan family couldn't bear such a promiscuous daughter. Lu Qian was touched. Quan Yuchen further clarified, the only daughter-in-law the Quan family recognizes is Lu Qian. At the same time, Lu Haiping is not Zhang Chunxiu's biological son, so she's also not qualified. Lu Qian's brain was already overloaded, while Zhang Chunxiu was still trying to cover up the truth. Quan Yuchen directly exposed the fact that Zhang Chunxiu was Lu Haiping's stepmother, accusing her of having no right to occupy the Lu family home. Zhang Chunxiu's legs were trembling. She had kept the secret hidden until now. However, Quan Yuchen always managed to have all the information. There was nothing he didn't know. When Quan Yuchen snapped his fingers coolly, tall and strong bodyguards immediately appeared by his side. Seeing these bodyguards in black suits, Zhang Chunxiu and Zhou Fangfang were both terrified. After handling everything, Quan Yuchen showed off his results to Lu Qian. However, Lu Qian was unhappy that Quan Yuchen had investigated her so thoroughly. Quan Yuchen explained to Lu Qian that he only did it to better help her. All the information was something he had to know. Lu Qian was in extreme pain inwardly. She decisively flung Quan Yuchen's hand away. Recalling that she had no secrets in front of him made her feel incredibly sad. The next day, Lu Haiping was released from prison. Standing outside the gate, he greedily enjoyed the warm sunlight. Just then, Lu Qian's call was heard. It turned out she had long been waiting outside the gate for her father's release. The father and daughter just looked at each other from a distance. Lu Haiping slowly opened his arms. Lu Qian, filled with joy, ran towards her father's embrace. Lu Haiping caught her steadily. The father and daughter hugged and wept, their tears unable to stop. The sunlight shone on them, and this warm scene would forever remain in their hearts. Lu Haiping knelt before Lu Qian's mother's grave, apologizing to her and crying his eyes out for not being able to see her one last time. Lu Qian noticed her father's grief and slowly asked him, "Am I really not your and mother's biological child?" Hearing this, Lu Haiping's eyes widened. "Your grandmother, she even told you about this?" Lu Haiping gently caressed the portrait in front of him, his mind flashing back to the scene 22 years ago. At that time, Lu Qian's mother couldn't get pregnant due to a heart condition. However, she longed for a child, so we adopted a 5-month-old Lu Qian from an orphanage. Lu Haiping felt deeply that she had been implicated because of him and was filled with remorse. At this moment, Lu Qian quickly interrupted her father, expressing her deep gratitude to her parents for the happy life they had given her over the years. Regardless of whether she was their biological child, she would always be their daughter. Hearing this, Lu Haiping couldn't help but shed tears. The emotions of the father and daughter gradually calmed down. However, Lu Haiping still had a question in his mind, which was what kind of relationship he and Quan Yuchen had. Lu Qian and her father returned to the Lu family home. Lu Qian explained to her father. She met Quan Yuchen when her father was arrested. She was weak and alone, so she had no choice but to ask Quan Yuchen for help. Then, she and Quan Yuchen got married. Lu Haiping felt that Quan Yuchen had threatened Lu Qian. Lu Qian quickly denied it. Quan Yuchen is now the company's largest shareholder. He acquired the company through legal channels. Lu Haiping was also helpless. Lu Qian apologized to her father, blaming herself for being useless and unable to protect the company. Now that things had come to this, Lu Haiping had no choice but to invite Kuan Yuqian for a meal together. Lu Qian was very puzzled. Lu Haiping was all smiles on the surface, but inwardly he was determined to teach Kuan Yuqian a lesson. Lu Qian booked a high-end, traditional-style restaurant. The three of them sat in the bustling restaurant. Lu Haiping raised his glass to thank Kuan Yuqian for his help during this time. Kuan Yuqian replied politely that it was what he should do. Lu Haiping smiled amiably, and Kuan Yuqian also wore a smile. The two raised their glasses and drank together. Only Lu Qian felt that the atmosphere between them was a bit off, but she couldn't figure out what was wrong. The atmosphere grew increasingly strange. Lu Qian prepared to break the awkward situation. Lu Qian decided to return the position of chairman to her father. Lu Haiping repeatedly waved his hands in refusal. Kuan Yuqian also told Lu Haiping, "The elders in the family want to hold a grandchild. Lu Haiping must also want to hold his grandchild soon." Kuan Yuqian reassured Lu Haiping that Lu Qian was more popular in the Kuan family than he was. Hearing this, Lu Haiping had to agree. Thinking of her contract with Kuan Yuqian, Lu Qian could only say guiltily that she would try her best. Lu Haiping looked at Lu Qian with a benevolent expression. He picked up Lu Qian's favorite braised prawns and gave them to her. Not to be outdone, Kuan Yuqian picked up a jade shrimp and fed it directly to Lu Qian. Lu Qian only felt that the braised prawns and jade shrimp before her were a living hell. Lu Haiping remembered that when Lu Qian's mother ate shrimp, he used to peel them for her. Lu Qian was made very awkward by her father's sudden sob story. On the other side, Kuan Yuqian also transformed into a warm-hearted man and wanted to peel shrimp for Lu Qian. Lu Qian just found Kuan Yuqian disgustingly cheesy. Lu Haiping and Kuan Yuqian looked at each other, the atmosphere tense and confrontational. Lu Qian looked at the two who were suddenly competing and felt truly helpless. After the meal, Lu Qian sat in the car and sighed. Finally, it's over. Outside the window, Lu Haiping and Kuan Yuqian were chatting on the roadside while smoking. This was a conversation between a father-in-law and his son-in-law. Lu Haiping felt that Kuan Yuqian was a ruthless capitalist. Kuan Yuqian quickly stated that his feelings for Lu Qian were genuine. Taking over the Lu Corporation was just a natural course of action. At the mention of the Lu Corporation, Lu Haiping's gaze hardened. One can only blame the villains for being too cunning. Kuan Yuqian hoped that the Lu Corporation would follow his plans in the future. Lu Haiping threw the cigarette in his hand to the ground. "How would I dare to have any opinion of you? I'm already old. The Lu Corporation will do as you say. But if you dare to treat Lu Qian even slightly badly, I will risk my old life to make you pay the price." Looking at the earnest Lu Haiping, Kuan Yuqian responded solemnly, "Because Lu Qian is also the treasure of my life." In a dilapidated mud brick house, a dejected Lu Wenhui lay resentfully on a clay bed. Zhou Fongfong, while scrubbing bed sheets, urged Zhang Chuanxiu to quickly think of a way to leave this dilapidated old house. Zhang Chuanxiu, with a pipe in her mouth, was very impatient. Zhang Chuanxiu had a flash of inspiration. It was to have Lu Wenhui fake a pregnancy. Zhang Chuanxiu told Lu Wenhui that she must use a fake pregnancy to marry into the Zhang family. Lu Wenhui blamed everything on Lu Qian. This time, she must teach Lu Qian a lesson. On a bustling street, Lu Qian and Grandma Kuan were discussing taking Lu Qian to an old Cheongsam shop next time. The grandmother and granddaughter were having a very happy time shopping. Rumble. Lu Qian heard a sound and turned to look. An out-of-control motorcycle was charging towards the two of them. Lu Qian subconsciously shielded her grandmother. Humph! Lu Qian was knocked to the ground. Lu Qian propped herself up with her hands, enduring the pain as she sat up. Oh no! Grandma was knocked to the ground, unconscious. In the Kuan family's old mansion, Grandma sat in a chair, saying she was perfectly fine, so why make such a big fuss? Kuan Yuqian's parents insisted on taking Grandma to the hospital for a checkup. The three of them, who were in a tug-of-war, were interrupted by Kuan Yuqian's voice. Kuan Yuqian had rushed back in a hurry. Grandma told Quan Yuchin she was fine and not to worry. Quan's mother immediately complained to Quan Yuchin that it was all because of Lu Qian that the old lady got hit. Quan's father didn't understand how this could be blamed on Lu Qian. Quan's mother felt that Lu Qian was a jinx who caused trouble every other day. Lu Qian, at the end of the stairs, quietly watched everyone. Thinking back on what had happened to her recently, it seemed she was indeed always plagued by bad luck. Unable to watch any longer, Grandma scolded Quan's mother, telling her not to talk nonsense. She then turned and told Quan Yuchin to quickly go upstairs and comfort the self-blaming Lu Qian. Quan Yuchin obediently said he would go right away. Quan Yuchin looked at Lu Qian standing by the window. He opened his mouth and blamed Lu Qian for not taking good care of Grandma today. Lu Qian, who was already very sad, kept apologizing. Quan Yuchin stepped forward and hugged the sad Lu Qian, reminding her to be extra careful next time. Lu Qian broke free from Quan Yuchin's embrace and shouted aggrievedly, "I'm the unlucky jinx your mother talks about. Since you all hate me so much, let's just get a divorce sooner rather than later." Quan Yuchin's brow furrowed. He held Lu Qian down. "Are your wings so strong now that you want to break the contract? I have never thought of you as a jinx. You're not allowed to have any thoughts of divorce or breaking the contract." Seeing the domineering Quan Yuchin, Lu Qian's momentum weakened. Quan Yuchin leaned down to remind Lu Qian that she still owed him a son. Quan Yuchin accidentally pressed on Lu Qian's wound. Lu Qian cried out in pain, telling Quan Yuchin to let her go. Quan Yuchin looked at Lu Qian's injured arm and quickly asked what happened. Why didn't she say anything about such a serious injury? Lu Qian stubbornly told Quan Yuchin to mind his own business. Quan Yuchin looked at Lu Qian, who was acting like a child, and sighed. The more Lu Qian thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. She flung Quan Yuchin's hand away. "I hate you." In the Quan family villa, Quan Yuchin apologized to Lu Qian. His tone just now was too harsh, and he hadn't noticed her injury. Lu Qian didn't want to hear such words from Quan Yuchin at all. She forcefully pushed Quan Yuchin out. Quan Yuchin didn't understand why Lu Qian was suddenly like this. He reached out to stop the closing door. Looking at the unreasonable Lu Qian, Quan Yuchin patiently persuaded her to go to the hospital. Lu Qian said she was just being unreasonable and prepared to close the door. Lu Qian didn't want to see Quan Yuchin. She resolutely closed the door. Quan Yuchin stood alone outside the door in a daze. Inside the door, Lu Qian's eyes were teary. She didn't want to hear Quan Yuchin's apology. Hearing the sound of footsteps leaving, the outside became silent. She opened the door a crack, but couldn't find any sign of Quan Yuchin. Lu Qian returned to her room sadly. Quan Yuchin wasn't even willing to coax her for a little while longer. She wasn't important to him at all. Lian Zi's words echoed repeatedly in her mind. Having figured it out, Lu Qian felt a sense of relief. Curled up on the floor, she mocked herself for foolishly waiting for something. She was just a tool for pregnancy. Why be so sentimental and have expectations of him? On a bustling street, Lu Qian walked aimlessly alone, unable to understand why Quan Yuchin, since he had a woman he loved deeply, would still provoke her. It started to snow. The phone rang. Quan Yuchin's voice came through, blaming her for running off to who knows where. Why didn't she stay at home? Lu Qian reached out her hand, wanting to catch the falling snowflakes. She didn't speak, but instead looked at the snow falling from the sky and hung up the phone. "You were the one who left first. Why are you looking for me now?" Quan Yuchin's voice came from behind. It turned out Quan Yuchin was right behind Lu Qian, holding a bag of medicine. Lu Qian turned to look. Quan Yuchin's words were full of concern. He just stood there, braving the wind and snow. Quan Yuchin's heart ached for Lu Qian. Even when throwing a tantrum, she should take care of her body. Lu Qian smiled and retorted to Quan Yuchin, "Why should I throw a tantrum? What qualification and right do I have to be angry?" Quan Yuchin, ignoring Lu Qian's struggles, directly picked her up and walked towards a nearby phone booth. In the phone booth, Quan Yuchin bandaged Lu Qian's wound. "That I'll have a doctor come to the house to check on it tomorrow." Lu Qian realized that Quan Yuchin had gone to buy medicine. Quan Yuchin retorted, "Otherwise, where did you think I went?" Lu Qian had misunderstood Quan Yuchin and quickly apologized to him. But Quan Yuchin felt that he was the one who should apologize for speaking harshly to you and leaving without a word, leaving you all alone. Lu Qian was moved to tears. Quan Yuchin promised Lu Qian that he would never speak a harsh word to her again. He would tell her wherever he went from now on. Then he kissed Lu Qian on the lips. Kuan Yu-chin caressed Lu Qian's cheek, saying, "You are my wife. You have more right than anyone else to make demands of me." Kuan Yu-chin held Lu Qian in his arms. In Kuan Yu-chin's embrace, Lu Qian had a look of disbelief. "Can I really have more rights to make demands of you?" In a Kuan family mansion, Lu Qian leaned against the window, thinking about the promise Kuan Yu-chin made to her today. She didn't know if she could believe him, but she hadn't forgotten the 2-year contract written in black and white. Kuan Yu-chin pushed open the door and walked in. He thought Lu Qian was still angry. She hadn't said a word since coming home. Kuan Yu-chin felt the room was cold and asked Lu Qian why she hadn't turned on the air conditioner. Lu Qian's mind was filled with how humble she was. Interrupted by Kuan Yu-chin's voice, she came back to her senses and said the air was too dry, so she didn't turn it on. Kuan Yu-chin held Lu Qian's shoulders, looking at her with a doting expression, telling her to say whatever was on her mind and not to keep it bottled up. Lu Qian could only say that she was fine, very good. Kuan Yu-chin used one finger to gently lift Lu Qian's chin. Looking at her gloomy expression, how could she possibly be fine? Lu Qian looked at Kuan Yu-chin and understood that she had truly fallen for him. She hugged Kuan Yu-chin tightly, telling him not to speak, that she would be fine after a hug. Kuan Yu-chin also put his arms around Lu Qian, that "I'm here for everything." The sound of their two hearts beating resounded throughout the room. Lu Qian regretted signing the agreement back then. 2 years was neither long nor short, and many things could change. Kuan Yu-chin stroked Lu Qian's head, telling her to follow her own thoughts and not to be hesitant. Only by doing it would she know if she could. Lu Qian looked at Kuan Yu-chin. What if she gave birth to a child within these 2 years, but didn't want to be separated from a child? Kuan Yu-chin didn't speak, frozen on the spot. Lu Qian was thinking, what if she didn't want to get a divorce? The two looked at each other. Lu Qian lost. In a joking tone, she told Kuan Yu-chin to forget what she had just said and turned to leave. Kuan Yu-chin grabbed Lu Qian's hand. Lu Qian turned back to look at him. Kuan Yu-chin spoke up to remind Lu Qian, "The child hasn't been born yet, so how can you talk about separation? If you want me to make a choice, you have to give me the question first." He then held Lu Qian's face and kissed her. The two kissed very passionately. Lu Qian opened her eyes and looked at Kuan Yu-chin, her heart beating faster and faster. Kuan Yu-chin told Lu Qian to relax. The following scene is not suitable for all ages. Lu Qian's face turned slightly red. Outside the window, heavy snow was falling like goose feathers. Sunlight filled the entire room. Kuan Yu-chin was busy changing his clothes. He was bare-chested and had just put on his pants. Lu Qian was watching him from his side. When Kuan Yu-chin was finally fully dressed and turned back again, he found Lu Qian staring at him with full concentration. Kuan Yu-chin felt a bit puzzled. Could it be that Lu Qian wanted to try fastening his belt for him? So he tried to tease Lu Qian, asking her to help him. However, Lu Qian's eyes widened, and she shyly lowered her head, saying she wasn't interested. However, Kuan Yu-chin did not give up. He hoped Lu Qian would give it a try. Lu Qian hesitantly reached out her hand, ready to try. It was purely for research purposes. She told Kuan Yu-chin not to overthink it. However, Lu Qian was confused about the position of the buckle. She noticed that although the buckle should be fastened in this position, she couldn't get it to close. In the process, Lu Qian accidentally touched Kuan Yu-chin's private parts. Kuan Yu-chin quickly reminded her to watch where her hand was. Lu Qian felt very embarrassed and quickly pulled her hand back, retreating at the same time. She ran away, cursing Kuan Yu-chin as a lewd, perverted hooligan. Kuan Yu-chin watched Lu Qian's actions, feeling a bit regretful. She provoked him and then just ran off like that. He then propped his hands on either side of Lu Qian's body, leaning closer to her. Lu Qian thought that in broad daylight, Kuan Yu-chin wouldn't dare to do anything. As a result, he quickly got up, drew the curtains, and turned off the lights. Then he slowly took off his shirt, walked in front of Lu Qian, threw the shirt aside, and then suddenly pounced on her. The scene changes to Zhang Mingwei and Lu Wenhui's wedding. Lu Qian and Kuan Yu-chin, holding carefully prepared red envelopes, offered their sincere blessings to the newlyweds. Afterward, a waiter led Kuan Yu-chin and Lu Qian into the hall. At this time, Grandma Kuan stood up and called out to Kuan Yu-chin. Lu Qian was surprised to find that her father, Lu Haiping, was also present. Lu Haiping explained that he was invited by Lu Qian's elder aunt. Lu Qian then introduced her father to everyone present. Grandma Kuan immediately invited her in-law to take a seat. Lu Haiping greeted everyone and thanked the Kuan family for taking care of Lu Qian. Grandma Quan told Lu Haiping not to be so polite, as Lu Qian was a granddaughter-in-law they were very satisfied with. Just then, Zhang Mingwei's grandfather came over and warmly greeted Quan Yuqian's grandfather. Grandpa Quan congratulated Zhang Mingwei's grandfather. Zhang Mingwei's grandfather said that he was happy today and must have a few more drinks before leaving. Then he noticed Lu Qian at the side and asked Grandpa Quan who this young lady was. Before Grandpa Quan could speak, Grandma Quan ran over and eagerly announced, "This is our Quan family's #1 granddaughter-in-law." Zhang Mingwei's grandfather looked puzzled, not knowing when this had happened, nor had he seen Quan Yuqian's wedding. At this moment, Zhang Mingwei and Lu Wenhui walked over, saying with a strange tone that a wedding is a big deal. Lu Qian and Quan Yuqian looked at the couple, who clearly had ill intentions. Such a large family as the Quans didn't even give this granddaughter-in-law a wedding. Lu Wenhui said she felt wronged for her. Grandpa Quan got angry, who said there's no wedding? How could the Quan family not afford a wedding? Quan Yuqian, at the side, told Lu Wenhui to mind her own husband. She should thank Lu Qian for her magnanimity in letting her have Zhang Mingwei. Quan Yuqian looked at them provocatively. Lu Wenhui stood to the side, speechless with her back turned. Grandma Quan stood up and told Lu Qian that the Quan family would definitely give her a perfect wedding. She then looked at Quan Yuqian. Lu Qian also looked at Quan Yuqian. Quan Yuqian announced to everyone present, of course. On the street, Quan Yuqian was driving the car. Lu Qian, sitting in the car, asked Quan Yuqian for his thoughts on the wedding matter. Lu Qian thought that if they held a wedding, it might be more difficult to get a divorce in the future. She had doubts. Did Quan Yuqian have special feelings for her, and that's why he chose to give her a wedding? Considering these things, Lu Qian tightened the cheongsam she was wearing, warning herself not to get lost in pointless fantasies and sentimental emotions. After the wedding, Quan Yuqian carefully observed Lu Qian's words and actions, finding her behavior to be different from usual. Lu Qian explained that she was not unwell, just puzzled as to why they had decided to hold a wedding. Quan Yuqian calmly told her not to dwell on the reason. It was just an ordinary wedding. Seeing Quan Yuqian's attitude, Lu Qian was clearly dissatisfied, questioning if he had forgotten their initial agreement. She reminded Quan Yuqian that if they divorced after the wedding, it would surely attract widespread public attention. Hearing Lu Qian mention divorce again, Quan Yuqian grew impatient. He retorted, asking Lu Qian why she kept bringing up divorce when the child hadn't even been born yet. Quan Yuqian questioned Lu Qian, asking if she wanted to get rid of him as soon as possible, or if she felt that being the Quan family's daughter-in-law was a disgrace. Lu Qian firmly denied having such thoughts. It was just that holding a wedding would make their relationship public, which might adversely affect Quan Yuqian's childbearing. Quan Yuqian stated that the Quan family is a family that values propriety. His child should, by right, be born with a formal status. Therefore, a wedding is essential. Lu Qian slowly lowered her head. She realized that in Quan Yuqian's eyes, she was just a tool for childbirth. She knew this, yet she still fell deeply in love with him, even holding expectations for this wedding. As the scene changes, we see the evening time. Lu Qian, arm in arm with her father Lu Haiping, arrived at the entrance of the Quan family mansion. Although it wasn't Lu Haiping's first time meeting the Quan family, he seemed a bit nervous at this moment. Lu Qian praised her father's handsome appearance and encouraged him to relax. So, Lu Haiping rang the doorbell. Grandma Quan warmly welcomed them into the house. Lu Haiping explained to Grandma Quan that they had rushed over to discuss the wedding matters together. After entering the Quan residence, Lu Qian looked around but did not see Quan Yuqian. So she turned her head and asked where Quan Yuqian was. Grandma Quan told Lu Qian that Quan Yuqian was handling some work matters and would be back shortly. After hearing this, Lu Qian indicated that she understood. Grandpa Quan arrived on the scene. He advocated that the wedding should present the most luxurious scene possible, choosing the most expensive items to create a lively atmosphere. Quan's father immediately raised an objection. He believed that an excessive pursuit of luxury might lead to a wedding that was flashy but lacked substance. Quan's mother also expressed that young people nowadays prefer to have weddings with unique themes. The whole family began to discuss what theme to choose. At this time, Lu Qian did not participate in the discussion. Instead, he focused on observing Quan Yuqian's photos on the wall, wondering if this wedding was really necessary. He thought that once the contract was completed, none of this would have anything to do with him. So he decided to leave the room. Grandma Quan asked him where he was going. Lu Qian replied that he had gotten a bit carsick on the way and wanted to go out for some fresh air. Grandma Quan told him to walk around the backyard, as it would soon be time for dinner. In the backyard, Lu Qian saw the lush and vibrant scenery and couldn't help but admire how meticulously the garden was maintained. He heard the sound of people talking and followed the voices. When he saw Quan Yuqian's figure, he was shocked because Lin Zi was grabbing Quan Yuqian by the collar, desperately begging him not to marry Lu Qian. In the Quan family's garden, Lu Qian hid behind the bushes, observing the argument between Quan Yuqian and Zi. He wondered if he should leave, but on second thought, Quan Yuqian's true attitude might give him a clearer understanding of Quan Yuqian's attitude. Quan Yuqian and Zi stood face to face. Quan Yuqian had one hand on Zi's shoulder, indicating that his feelings for her were merely those of a brother for a sister. Even if he didn't marry Lu Qian, it would be impossible between them. Zi, with tears in her eyes and a choked voice, questioned Quan Yuqian. Why did it have to be Lu Qian? She didn't understand. Even Quan Zheng will be fine. Quan Yuqian cut Zi's words off, looking at her sternly and stating that Lu Qian was his only husband. There was no Quan Zheng. Zi's tears fell like rain. She didn't understand why Quan Yuqian was like this, why he always defended Lu Qian unconditionally. What was so good about Lu Qian that was worth Quan Yuqian's devotion? Quan Yuqian stated clearly that he had already told everyone that Lu Qian was his husband and the mother of his future children. No one was to bully Lu Qian. He hoped Zi could understand this. However, Zi lowered her head, not understanding why Quan Yuqian liked him so much. Quan Yuqian sighed and said earnestly, no matter what happened, he hoped Zi could respect Lu Qian the same way she respected him. Lu Qian was now her brother-in-law. Just then, there was a snapping sound. Quan Yuqian looked towards the bushes where Lu Qian was hiding and shouted, "Who's there?" Lu Qian quickly hid himself well and said nothing. Quan Yuqian thought it was his imagination. Since it was getting late, Quan Yuqian called the driver to take Zi home. As they walked, he reminded Zi to be careful on the way and to let him know when she got home safely. Zi looked at Quan Yuqian reluctantly. Did she really have to give up on the love she had held for over a decade? It was impossible to determine if Quan Yuqian's words were merely an excuse to reject Zi or his true feelings. However, it was undeniable that a trace of pleasure arose in Lu Qian's heart because of it. Quan Yuqian called out to Lu Qian, who was walking toward the house. Lu Qian pretended to know nothing. Quan Yuqian asked him why he was here. Lu Qian said he wasn't feeling well and came out for some air. The night passed. The next day, while having dinner with the family, Lu Qian tasted a sausage and recalled eavesdropping in the garden the previous night. He began to wonder if Quan Yuqian had noticed him. At that moment, Quan Yuqian interrupted Lu Qian's thoughts, asking him how the food tasted. Lu Qian said it was okay. Quan Yuqian then took the opportunity to place a sausage on his plate. Leaning close to Lu Qian with a sly smile, he told him there were even tastier sausages waiting for him to try. Surprised, Lu Qian quietly scolded him. Quan Yuqian reminded him that Grandma was watching them. Grandma Quan, from the side, calmly told Quan Yuqian not to bully Lu Qian. Lu Qian brought the bowl to his lips. Grandma Quan's expression clearly showed she had heard. Lu Qian's eyes suddenly widened, and he turned his head away to retch. Quan Yuqian looked at the uncomfortable Lu Qian and asked if he had caught a cold for being outside last night, causing his stomach discomfort. He picked up a cup of hot water and had Lu Qian drink it. Grandma Quan reminded Lu Qian that he needed to prepare for the wedding soon and must take care of his health. Lu Qian said he would be careful. Grandma Quan mistook Lu Qian's retching just now as a sign that good news was on the way. Lu Qian was surprised. Could he be pregnant? In the Quan family mansion, Quan Yuqian and Lu Qian had just returned home. Quan Yuqian instructed Zhou Jie to make something light for dinner, as Lu Qian's appetite was poor. Lu Qian observed a large jar of preserved plums on a nearby table. After having a snack, he felt a craving, so he walked over to the table, picked up a bag, and started eating. After a while, he had already eaten several bags and was still going. At the same time, Lu Qian muttered to himself that these preserved plums tasted very good. Zhou Jie came over, surprised to see that Lu Qian had eaten so much. She told Lu Qian that the preserved plums were quite sour. Lu Qian was puzzled by this. He didn't think they were that sour, and he himself didn't usually like sour food. He couldn't figure out what was wrong. Zhou Jie asked Lu Qian if it was possible that he was pregnant. Lu Qian was stunned by Zhou Jie's words. The preserved plums in his hand fell to the ground. He recalled that in many TV dramas, pregnant women would suddenly start craving sour things. Could it be the same for him? Lu Qian asked Zhou Jie what the usual signs of pregnancy were. Zhou Jie laughed and said there were many signs. Many pregnant people's tastes would suddenly change, and they would feel nauseous and unable to eat anything. They would also become more sleepy. They used to be able to stay up late, but after getting pregnant, they couldn't anymore. Lu Qian wanted to get a glass of water to calm his nerves. While getting water, he thought about what Grandma had said this morning. Could he really be pregnant? Would Kuan Yu-chin be unhappy if he found out? As Lu Qian was lost in thought, he didn't notice that the hot water in the cup had already overflowed. He reached for it and accidentally burned his hand. The full cup also fell to the ground. Hearing the sound, Kuan Yu-chin rushed over, pushed open the door, and asked about Lu Qian's condition. He took Lu Qian's hand to check it and saw that it was burned. He immediately called for Zhou Jie to help. Lu Qian quickly said he was fine. Kuan Yu-chin saw that he looked pale. Lu Qian told Kuan Yu-chin that he felt tired and hoped to rest early, adding that he wouldn't be joining them for dinner. He then returned to his room. Lu Qian sat alone on the bed, thinking that if he were pregnant, he would be able to find out Kuan Yu-chin's true feelings. Kuan Yu-chin came out of the bathroom, bare-chested, and leaned in next to Lu Qian. He asked him why he was always spacing out lately and if something was on his mind. Lu Qian, blushing profusely, denied it. Kuan Yu-chin picked him up, wanted to see if he really thought that way. Lu Qian shouted for Kuan Yu-chin to put him down and not be so rough. After putting him down, Lu Qian, his face red, was about to go take a shower. Lu Qian turned back and shyly asked Kuan Yu-chin to be gentle with him later. Kuan Yu-chin smiled and agreed. Afterwards, Kuan Yu-chin held Lu Qian's injured hand, watching him as he slept. He sighed that habit was truly a scary thing. He never thought that one day he would get used to having Lu Qian by his side, let alone fall in love with him. In the City First Central Hospital, Lu Qian was looking around the lobby alone, not knowing what to do. Just then, he saw a staff member and walked over to ask where the ultrasound room was. Just then, Lu Wenhui came up from behind him. She was wearing maternity clothes and had a large belly. Beside her was Zhang Mingwei's mother. Lu Wenhui curiously asked Lu Qian why he was at the hospital and if he was sick. Then Lu Wenhui pointed at Lu Qian and told Zhang Mingwei's mother, Lu Qian is now the Quan family's grandson-in-law. But why is he at the hospital alone? Why isn't Kuan Yu-chin with him? Lu Qian smiled and said, what's wrong with coming to the hospital alone? I just came to pick up some medicine. Can Lu Wenhui come to this hospital, but I, Lu Qian, can't? Lu Wenhui said sarcastically, if Lu Qian is sick, he should take his medicine. Lu Qian responded with a grin to Lu Wenhui. It's normal to take medicine when you're sick. I'm just afraid someone's belly is growing so fast. That's what's not normal. Lu Wenhui glared at Lu Qian, grinding her teeth. Zhang Mingwei's mother looked at Lu Wenhui with suspicion. Lu Wenhui quickly pulled Zhang Mingwei's mother and walked out, muttering, he's just jealous that I'm pregnant. Lu Qian waited nervously for the ultrasound. After the examination, he held the ultrasound report in his hand. It said, 6 weeks pregnant. Lu Qian sat alone on a park bench, looking at the report in his hand, conflicted about whether to tell Kuan Yu-chin. If Kuan Yu-chin found out, what would he choose to do? Lu Qian was very scared that Kuan Yu-chin would really follow their contract, divorce him when the time came, and separate him from his own flesh and blood. In the room, Lu Qian stood in front of the mirror wearing a black dress, thinking about how his belly would get bigger in a few months. He sighed, curled up on the bed, not knowing what to do. He kept staring at his phone in a daze. Finally, he decided he had to know Kuan Yu-chin's thoughts and picked up his phone to call him. Kuan Yu-chin was in a meeting when his phone suddenly rang. Seeing it was a call from Lu Qian, he told the employee who was speaking to pause for a moment. He answered the phone and asked Lu Qian what was wrong. Lu Qian was a bit flustered on the other end of the line. He said he had just watched a TV drama and wanted to ask Kuan Yu-chin a question. In the drama, the female lead found out she was pregnant but didn't know the male lead's attitude, so she was conflicted about whether to have the baby. If it were him, what would he do? Hearing this question, Kuan Yu-chin was stunned for a moment and didn't speak. Lu Qian didn't hear anything and thought Kuan Yu-chin was gone, so he called out his name. After a short while, Kuan Yu-chin sighed and told him he had a meeting and they would talk when he got home. He hung up the phone and told the employees to continue the meeting. Lu Qian curled up on the bed, crying, not understanding why Kuan Yu-chin was unwilling to answer. But he couldn't bear to be separated from his own flesh and blood. Lu Qian decided to put away the ultrasound report for now and pretend nothing had happened. The female lead on the TV happily told the male lead that she had a surprise for him. Lu Qian was watching them intently. After hearing the news of the female lead's pregnancy, the male lead's expression was one of utter shock. He heard someone approaching. He turned his head, and sure enough, it was Kuan Yu-chen who had returned. Kuan Yu-chen's company had a very troublesome matter today, so he came back late. Lu Qian had come back early today because he was feeling a bit unwell. Kuan Yu-chen thought Lu Qian's stomachache was acting up again. He touched his head to see if he had caught a cold from the wind yesterday. Lu Qian hesitated for a moment and said he was just a little anemic. Kuan Yu-chen's heart ached upon hearing this. He decided to have Zhou Jie make more soups that replenished qi and blood to nourish Lu Qian. He turned his head and saw the bizarre plot on the TV, finally understanding why Lu Qian had asked him that strange question. Kuan Yu-chen felt that the male and female leads in the TV show arguing over a child was too childish and told Lu Qian to watch less of these trashy dramas in the future. Kuan Yu-chen felt that something was off with Lu Qian's state, so he asked him if he was unwell. Lu Qian turned his head and said he was on his period. Hearing this news, Kuan Yu-chen had to stop, his interest waning. He could only hold Lu Qian to rest. Holding him asleep should be fine, right? After the two said goodnight to each other, Lu Qian leaned against Kuan Yu-chen's chest, unable to help but wonder if he would remember their time together if he left. The next day, Kuan Yu-chen and Lu Qian returned to the Kuan family's old residence together. Grandma had been waiting for them at the door for a long time. She missed Lu Qian very much. Grandma kept holding Lu Qian's hand and chatting, while Grandpa was at the door directing Kuan Yu-chen to hang lanterns. Grandpa was very critical of the lanterns Kuan Yu-chen hung. Kuan Yu-chen said he wasn't convinced. Standing on the ladder, how could he tell if the lanterns were crooked? Faced with Kuan Yu-chen's backtalk, Grandpa angrily clenched his fists. He shouldn't think he wouldn't get a beating just because he was married. However, Grandma's voice came, and Grandpa quickly retracted his fist, explaining that he was just joking. At this moment, Lu Qian looked towards Kuan Yu-chen on the ladder and found that he was also looking at him. His heart was filled with envy for Grandpa and Grandma's love that could last a lifetime. Seeing Lu Qian's expression, Grandma showed a kind smile on her face and assured him that Lu Qian and Kuan Yu-chen would also be like them, walking a long path of life together. Lu Qian carefully considered Grandma's words. Will we really have a future? Kuan Yu-chen and Lu Qian had already prepared their gifts and were about to leave. Grandma asked Lu Qian to send her regards to his father. The family said their goodbyes at the door. The car had already driven away, yet Grandma was still standing there, waving goodbye. Back home, Grandma found a handbag on the sofa. It was Lu Qian's. She picked up the ultrasound report that had fallen out. Her eyes widened in an instant. Kuan Yu-chen, who had just arrived home, received a call from his mother. Seeing Kuan Yu-chen remain silent after hanging up the phone, Lu Qian anxiously asked if something had happened to Grandma. However, Kuan Yu-chen cut him off, demanding to know why he had hidden the pregnancy. Lu Qian looked at him, feeling speechless. An expression of anger appeared on Kuan Yu-chen's face. Kuan Yu-chen was really angry. Lu Qian didn't know what to say and could only play dumb. Kuan Yu-chen looked at Lu Qian, who was still unwilling to tell the truth, and grabbed his arm in agitation. Grandma, they've already seen the ultrasound report in the bag. Lu Qian called out Kuan Yu-chen's name. Kuan Yu-chen agitatedly asked him why he hid it from him. Lu Qian wanted to speak, but didn't know what to say. He could only say that he didn't want to talk to him. Kuan Yu-chen was already furious. He felt that Lu Qian was just treating him like a fool. Lu Qian explained that he didn't mean to deceive him. He told Kuan Yu-chen with great grievance that he had clearly asked about his attitude yesterday, but he didn't answer at all. Lu Qian shouted loudly, telling Kuan Yu-chen to look at his own attitude before blaming others. Kuan Yu-chen was very confused. He wanted to know if it was because of yesterday's TV drama. Lu Qian felt extremely tired and didn't want to talk anymore. His body suddenly slumped towards the ground. Seeing this, Kuan Yu-chen quickly caught Lu Qian, who was about to faint. Kuan Yu-chen wanted to carry Lu Qian to rest, but Lu Qian refused to accept his help. Kuan Yu-chen told Lu Qian to stop throwing a tantrum. Lu Qian had no strength to argue and fell asleep on the bed. Kuan Yu-chen stood by the bed, reflecting. He must have exhausted Lu Qian these past few days. He was such an idiot. He hadn't noticed Lu Qian's unusual behavior at all. No wonder he was so heartbroken. Lu Qian broke out in a sweat in his dream. He didn't know where Kuan Yu-chen was going. He reached out his hand, but he couldn't grasp the departing Kuan Yu-chen. He begged him not to leave him. Lying on the bed, Lu Qian's eyes suddenly snapped open. He glanced at the time and realized it was already late at night. The room was empty. Lu Qian felt extremely dejected. Apparently, he had no grounds to negotiate with Quan Yuchen. Once the child was handed over to him, what would become of him? Lu Qian opened the door. The strong light made it impossible for him to see what was in front of him. After his eyes adjusted, he was surprised to find Quan Yuchen standing before him in a white suit, holding flowers. Quan Yuchen's attitude was sincere as he apologized to him. Seeing this scene, Lu Qian's eyes filled with tears. Quan Yuchen believed that he had not considered Lu Qian's feelings, nor had he cared about his physical condition, and had only relentlessly questioned him. Lu Qian shook his head repeatedly, saying that he was also responsible, but he was indeed scared. Quan Yuchen caressed Lu Qian's cheek. Lu Qian looked at Quan Yuchen, moved. Quan Yuchen handed him the flowers in his hand. He knelt on one knee and declared that from this day on, he would definitely not let him and the child suffer any grievance. Please believe him. He would strive to become a reliable support for them. Lu Qian was extremely moved by this. Whether his words were true or false, at this moment, he chose to believe him. Although he was still uncertain about the future, he still hoped to cherish this beautiful moment with him. They held each other tightly. From a distance, the scene was as beautiful as a painting. At this moment, how Lu Qian wished that he and Quan Yuchen could continue to be this happy forever. 1 month later, like every girl, Quan Yuchen was already waiting at the end of the red carpet, waiting for his bride. In a warm atmosphere, Lu Haiping held Lu Qian's hand and slowly walked towards Quan Yuchen. Quan Yuchen finally awaited his bride. The two looked at each other affectionately. Lu Haiping solemnly placed Lu Qian's hand into Quan Yuchen's. He earnestly urged him to be good to him for a lifetime and not to let him down. Quan Yuchen held Lu Qian's hand tightly and promised Lu Haiping that he would definitely not disappoint him. It was about to begin. Lu Qian's eyes widened. This was the first time he had heard Quan Yuchen formally call him wife. Lu Qian quickly nodded in response. Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian stood before the priest. The priest called Quan Yuchen's name. Quan Yuchen listened attentively to the priest's vows. The priest asked Quan Yuchen if he was willing to take Lu Qian as his husband. Quan Yuchen answered with a firm voice that he was willing. The priest also asked Lu Qian if he was willing to marry Quan Yuchen. Lu Qian's eyes widened, and he said nothing. Although he had been greatly looking forward to this moment, at this time, his heart was filled with doubt and confusion. Quan Yuchen took Lu Qian's hand and told him not to be afraid. He encouraged him to believe in them. Lu Qian was not just the mother of his child, but also his husband. They were a family and would never be separated. Lu Qian asked him if he was serious. Quan Yuchen answered him with great certainty. Lu Qian looked at Quan Yuchen's earnest expression and stood there in a daze. Quan Yuchen continued, saying this wedding involved no transactions or benefits. It was only because this solemn place witnessed their wedding and also witnessed his promise to him. Quan Yuchen's affectionate words moved all the guests. Then he took out a ring, knelt on one knee, and proposed to Lu Qian. He hoped Lu Qian would entrust the rest of his life to him, so he could shelter him from the wind and rain. He wanted to know if Lu Qian was willing to spend the rest of his life with him. Lu Qian was moved to tears and immediately agreed. Then he answered Quan Yuchen loudly. He was willing. Quan Yuchen put the ring on Lu Qian's finger. The two looked at each other affectionately. Lu Qian hoped that in this gamble of love, Quan Yuchen wouldn't let him lose. After exchanging rings, the groom could kiss the bride. Quan Yuchen gently lifted Lu Qian's veil. He was especially beautiful today. Quan Yuchen only had eyes for Lu Qian. He asked him if he was ready. Lu Qian responded enthusiastically. Friends and family were all happy for them. Next, the groom, Mr. Quan, affectionately kissed the bride, Mrs. Quan. At the wedding banquet, numerous friends and relatives came to congratulate the newlyweds. At the banquet, Lu Qian remarked on the large number of guests. Quan Yuchen considerately told him that it would be over after the last round of toasts. Lu Qian said he wasn't tired and urged Quan Yuchen to hurry up and make the toasts. Gong Hao and Li Jingchun waited patiently on the side and finally welcomed the Lu Qian couple. Quan Yuchen enthusiastically introduced these two close friends of his, whom he had known since childhood, to Lu Qian. The two brothers acted very sharp and greeted Lu Qian. Gong Hao enthusiastically hugged Quan Yuchen and said that they must not go home until they were drunk today. Li Jingchun explained to Lu Qian that he and Gong Hao were genuinely happy for Quan Yuchen and hoped Lu Qian wouldn't mind. Watching the playful Quan Yuqian and Gong Hao, Lu Qian remarked that their bond was really good. Quan Yuqian suddenly remembered that this was his own wedding, and making such a scene was too embarrassing. So he gently discussed with Lu Qian. He wanted to have a few drinks with them. Could Lu Qian go back and rest first? Gong Hao and Li Jingshun, standing by, felt incredibly sour watching their public display of affection. Lu Qian agreed to Quan Yuqian's request and said goodbye to everyone. Gong Hao, with a mischievous smile, promised that he absolutely would not affect Quan Yuqian's wedding night. Lu Qian was so embarrassed his toes curled. Quan Yuqian's face was flushed with embarrassment. In the middle of the night, Quan Yuqian finally came home. Lu Qian thoughtfully took care of the very drunk Quan Yuqian. Unexpectedly, Quan Yuqian was in a particularly good mood today. From now on, he and Quan Yuqian were officially a married couple. When Lu Qian thought about having to call him husband in the future, he blushed a little. He shyly opened his mouth, husband. He didn't expect it to come out so easily. Unfortunately, Quan Yuqian had already fallen asleep and didn't hear it. Lu Qian was particularly mischievous in front of Quan Yuqian, calling him husband repeatedly. He also took the opportunity to give him a kiss. Watching Quan Yuqian sleeping so quietly after getting drunk, Lu Qian smiled secretly, preparing to have a good rest tonight. Unexpectedly, Quan Yuqian suddenly wrapped his arm around Lu Qian, not letting him go. How could just one kiss be enough? Lu Qian was very surprised. When did Quan Yuqian wake up? Quan Yuqian quietly told Lu Qian that he had woken up at the first husband he called out. This was the first time Lu Qian had called him that. He didn't want to miss this moment. Quan Yuqian made an intimate invitation to Lu Qian. His large hand cupped Lu Qian's small face. Then he gently kissed him. Quan Yuqian was now overwhelmed by desire, but Lu Qian suddenly remembered that he was still pregnant, so he immediately refused him. Quan Yuqian stopped his actions and complained aggrievedly. Tonight was their wedding night. Lu Qian's behavior was truly cruel. Lu Qian gazed at the already drunk Quan Yuqian. He suddenly realized Quan Yuqian was whining. Lu Qian was helpless against Quan Yuqian. Quan Yuqian obediently promised that he would definitely be gentle and careful. Lu Qian finally agreed. The following scene is not suitable for all ages. Please use your imagination. A wonderful night passed quickly. Quan Yuqian leaned against the headboard, quietly admiring Lu Qian's sleeping face. A drowsy Lu Qian opened his eyes. Quan Yuqian told Lu Qian to sleep a little longer. It was still early. He mysteriously told Lu Qian to look forward to his performance. In the kitchen, Quan Yuqian put on an apron, preparing to start with the eggs. Fry an egg. How could a mere breakfast possibly defeat him? Half an hour later, the kitchen that had felt tidy just now was now filled with thick smoke. Quan Yuqian covered his nose and coughed incessantly in the smoke. In a moment of genius, Quan Yuqian thought of a brilliant plan. Of course, it was to order takeout. Lu Qian, who had taken a nap, felt refreshed. He was amazed to see the delicious food on the dining table. Quan Yuqian called for Lu Qian to hurry over and eat breakfast. Lu Qian couldn't believe that this whole table of food was made by Quan Yuqian. Quan Yuqian guiltily shoved the takeout bag deeper into the trash can. Lu Qian couldn't stop praising Quan Yuqian's cooking skills. But why hadn't Quan Yuqian gone to the company? Because Lu Qian was pregnant, Quan Yuqian wanted to stay home and accompany Lu Qian for a few days. Hearing this, Lu Qian became thoughtful. Quan Yuqian thought Lu Qian didn't want his company. Lu Qian told Quan Yuqian that he was just so happy that he was being so considerate. Lu Qian's eyes suddenly widened. Quan Yuqian thought something was wrong with Lu Qian. Lu Qian responded that it felt like the baby had just moved. But wasn't it said that fetal movement only starts around 4 months? Quan Yuqian immediately leaned close to Lu Qian's belly, telling the little one not to bully his mommy. Lu Qian smiled. The baby is still so small. How could it understand? Lu Qian wanted to know if Quan Yuqian preferred a boy or a girl. Quan Yuqian placed his large hand on Lu Qian's small hand. As long as it's our baby, I like both boys and girls. Actually, regardless of whether it's a boy or a girl, as long as the baby grows up healthy and our family can be happy together, that's happiness enough. On the television, a reporter was broadcasting news about Quan Yuqian and Lu Qian's wedding. Lu Wenhui, who was also watching the television, was filled with resentment. The mother and 2 daughters were at the dinner table discussing Lu Wenhui's fake pregnancy. Zhou Fangfang told Lu Wenhui that her cover would be blown in a few more months. Lu Wenhui angrily complained that Zhang Mingwei was a good-for-nothing. They had been together for so long, and she still hadn't gotten pregnant. Lu Wenhui took the pillow from her belly. The pillow used to fake her pregnancy, threw it on the floor, and shrieked with anger. Zhang Mingwei was unwilling to touch her now. Her secret would definitely be exposed when it was time to give birth. Zhang Chunxiu calmly stated that when it was time to give birth, they could just find a random baby to substitute. Lu Wenhui secretly calculated in her heart. This was indeed a solution. Her gaze shifted to Lu Qian on the TV, and she set her sights on Lu Qian's belly. Lu Qian sat on the sofa, watching an anime on his iPad. The intimate scenes in the anime made Lu Qian very shy. Quan Yuqian saw that Lu Qian was bored at home every day and decided to take him out to have some fun. Lu Qian happily asked where they were going. Quan Yuqian acted mysterious and didn't tell Lu Qian. In the VIP cinema, Quan Yuqian and Lu Qian arrived early. Sitting in his seat, Lu Qian was a bit puzzled. Quan Yuqian would actually take him to see a romance movie. Quan Yuqian returned with Coke and popcorn. On their first date, Quan Yuqian was particularly shy. The two sat obediently, waiting for the movie to start. Lu Qian voiced the question in his heart. Quan Yuqian said he wanted to make up for the dating time he and Lu Qian had missed. Lu Qian teased that Quan Yuqian was quite romantic. Lu Qian watched with great interest, while Quan Yuqian was drowsy. The couple behind them were hugging and kissing intensely. Quan Yuqian quickly coughed twice to remind them to be mindful of the occasion. But then he turned his head and felt envious. Looking at Lu Qian, whose attention was completely on the movie, Quan Yuqian reached out and touched Lu Qian's thigh. Lu Qian immediately scolded Quan Yuqian to pay attention. This was a movie theater. Quan Yuqian picked up the popcorn that had fallen on Lu Qian's thigh and showed it to Lu Qian. Then he ate the popcorn. In a flash, he saw that there was also a piece of popcorn stuck to Lu Qian's face. He leaned over and ate it with his mouth. Lu Qian shyly scolded Quan Yuqian. If you want to eat popcorn, get it yourself. Don't disturb me while I'm watching the movie. Quan Yuqian said aggrievedly that he didn't want to watch. His outstretched fingers were well-defined, gently placed on Lu Qian's cheek that MYIs are only for you. Quan Yuqian finally kissed Lu Qian. At this moment, the couple on the big screen happened to be kissing as well. Seen from a distance, a man and a woman stood at the entrance of the Quan family home, saying goodbye to the people inside. It turned out to be Quan Yuqian's uncle and aunt. Just then, Quan Yuqian returned with Lu Qian. Their eyes met. The aunt sized up Lu Qian. So, this is the woman Quan Yuqian chose after so much deliberation? She's not that great. Quan Yuqian's expression was very ugly. Just as the four of them passed each other, the aunt spoke up, scolding Quan Yuqian for being heartless. You're getting married and having children just like that. Have you thought about Zhang, who is still abroad? Quan Yuqian ignored his aunt and led Lu Qian into the house. Hearing Quan Zheng's name, Lu Qian looked at Quan Yuqian and noticed his expression at that moment. Back in the room, Lu Qian still asked about the aunt. Quan Yuqian, who was getting dressed, paused his movements and refused to answer. Lu Qian's eyes widened in disbelief. Quan Yuqian, you still treat me like an outsider. Seeing how fierce Quan Yuqian was, Lu Qian angrily dove under the covers. Quan Yuqian quickly explained, how was I being fierce? Lu Qian refused to communicate, turned over, and wrapped himself even more tightly in the blanket. Quan Yuqian stepped forward and explained seriously. He really wasn't being fierce with Lu Qian. Lu Qian, under the covers, expressed, I'm not listening to the turtle chanting scriptures. I can't be bothered with you. Quan Yuqian looked at Lu Qian, who was still throwing a childish tantrum under the covers, and felt a wave of helplessness. Lu Qian felt a lightness on his body. Quan Yuqian had actually yanked the blanket off and gotten in. Quan Yuqian propped himself up on his hands over Lu Qian, wanting Lu Qian to give him a chance to explain. Lu Qian listened blankly to Quan Yuqian's explanation. Quan Yuqian didn't tell Lu Qian anything in order to protect him. He hoped Lu Qian would focus his attention on himself and the baby. After explaining, he also gave Lu Qian a kiss. Lu Qian only felt that Quan Yuqian was beating around the bush. In the Lu Corporation building, Lu Qian sat in the office eating snacks, obediently waiting for his father to arrive. At this moment, a conversation outside the office caught Lu Qian's attention. It was gossip about the Quan Corporation acquiring the Lu Corporation. Lu Qian pressed against the glass, hearing only bits and pieces. He grumbled that Quan Yuqian hadn't mentioned such a big matter to him. Just then, Quan Yuqian and his father arrived. Quan Yuqian suggested starting the meeting now. Lu Qian also agreed. The three of them discussed the company's development for the year. Lu Qian couldn't listen at all. He didn't want to know if it was true that Quan Yuqian was going to acquire the company. Quan Yuqian responded to Lu Qian that this was just a proposal and was still under discussion. However, Quan Yuqian personally believed it was the best solution. The benefits of the company being backed by the Quan Corporation were too numerous. Quan Yuqian felt he was doing it all for the good of the company. Hearing this, Lu Qian gritted his teeth in anger. You just want to make the Lu Corporation your private property. Quan Yuqian patiently explained that he just wanted to help the Lu Corporation get back on its feet. Moreover, as a shareholder, he had an obligation to ensure the company achieved better development. Lu Qian stood there stunned, feeling very disgusted by Quan Yuqian's cold, businesslike demeanor. Perhaps this was the real Quan Yuqian. Lu Haiping put his arm around Lu Qian and comforted him softly, hoping Lu Qian wouldn't overthink it. Yuqian was also doing it for the company's good. In the end, the company would be handed over to you anyway. A family doesn't need to be so clearly divided. Lu Qian looked at his father with tears in his eyes and threw himself into his father's arms, crying his heart out. Lu Qian complained to his father that Quan Yuqian was really mean. Lu Haiping also didn't want Quan Yuqian to scold Qian like a subordinate. Quan Yuqian quickly apologized, promising to be more careful in the future. Lu Haiying told Quan Yuqian to learn from him. When he used to argue with Lu Qian's mother, he was always the first to admit he was wrong. Lu Qian thought his dad was amazing. Quan Yuqian felt that Lu Haiping was an old fox, putting him in an awkward position in front of Lu Qian again. Still angry, Lu Qian walked alone on the street. Behind him, Quan Yuqian told the driver to follow Lu Qian slowly. But ahead was a pedestrian street, and he couldn't follow anymore. So the driver accelerated and left, blowing a gust of wind in Lu Qian's face. Lu Qian recognized Quan Yuqian's car. Quan Yuqian. He actually didn't come to comfort him. Lu Qian became even angrier. At this moment, a stranger next to him suddenly handed him a rose, telling him not to be angry anymore. In the distance, a group of strangers were lining up, waiting to give him roses. Lu Qian, who had received a large bouquet of roses, had no idea what was going on. When he came to his senses, Lu Qian realized it must be Quan Yuqian. That guy's idea. He just didn't know where he was. A call of Qian interrupted Lu Qian's thoughts. Looking at the mascot figure holding balloons in front of him, Lu Qian thought to himself, this can't be Quan Yuqian, can it? Suddenly, the mascot figure started to dance. Lu Qian became more and more certain that this was Quan Yuqian. The mascot figure knelt on one knee and presented the balloons to Lu Qian. Qian, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Looking at the simple and cute mascot, Lu Qian's heart warmed. He pulled off the mascot head, revealing a sweat-drenched Quan Yuqian. Lu Qian had clearly calmed down. Quan Yuqian called out pitifully, wife. Lu Qian leaned in and kissed him directly. Quan Yuqian stood there stunned. All the balloons in his hand flew towards the sky. In a coffee shop, Lu Qian's best friend, Yi Hailan, couldn't believe that Lu Qian was actually more than 5 months pregnant. Lu Qian quickly told Yi Hailan to lower her voice in a public place. Yi Hailan then realized that her reaction might have been a bit exaggerated. Yi Hailan wanted to know about Lu Qian's married life. Was Zhang Mingwei good to Lu Qian? Lu Qian answered awkwardly that he didn't marry Zhang Mingwei. They had broken up long ago. Lu Qian told Yi Hailan that his husband was Quan Yuqian. He also told Yi Hailan everything that had happened in the past few months. After hearing all this, Yi Hailan felt very sorry for what Lu Qian had been through, but at least he had found a home. Yi Hailan earnestly reminded Lu Qian, rich second-generation heirs all have two faces. Qian, you have to be careful. Lu Qian told Yi Hailan not to worry. He wouldn't be fooled. In the Quan family mansion, Lu Qian happily called for Quan Yuqian to come over and look at the baby supplies he had bought. He marveled that this imported baby bottle could even automatically measure temperature. Quan Yuqian calculated time. It was about time to start preparing things for the baby. He also felt that baby products were so advanced now. Quan Yuqian watched the constantly busy Lu Qian and felt he was working too hard. He prepared to acquire a mother and baby brand. Lu Qian felt that Quan Yuqian was making a big deal out of nothing. But Quan Yuqian believed, I must give you two the best. Lu Qian firmly forbade Quan Yuqian for spending money recklessly. Quan Yuqian kissed Lu Qian and said he would listen to his dear wife. Lu Qian remembered what happened today and started chatting with Quan Yuqian about meeting a classmate he hadn't seen in a long time. Quan Yuqian hurriedly asked if it was a man or a woman. Lu Qian explained it was a female classmate named Yi Hailan. Quan Yuqian felt that the name Yi Hailan was particularly familiar. Lu Qian thought that the person who had dumped Yi Hailan back then was Quan Yuqian. Quan Yuqian quickly explained, telling Lu Qian not to guess randomly. Yi Hailan was Gong Hao's ex-girlfriend. She had mysteriously disappeared during the height of their romance. Lu Qian knew he had overthought it. Looking embarrassed, Quan Yuqian patted his chest and said he was a good man. Although he was misunderstood by his wife, as a good husband, he had prepared a gift for him. Led by Quan Yuqian, Lu Qian arrived at a real estate sales office, looking puzzled. Quan Yuqian suggested meeting an old friend first. Gong Hao was very surprised to see the Quan Yuqian couple. Quan Yuqian explained that he was planning to buy a house as a gift for Lu Qian. Gong Hao, who was very savvy, told Quan Yuqian that he had come to the right person. This property was newly developed by his dad. The surrounding facilities were complete, and the environment was equivalent to a scenic area. After asking for Lu Qian's opinion, Quan Yuqian decided to get a unit from Gong Hao. Gong Hao was also very generous, saying he would give his brother a 40% discount. Quan Yuqian was dissatisfied. Why only a 40% discount for a good brother? Shouldn't you just give it to me? Hearing this, it wasn't just Gong Hao whose jaw dropped, but also Lu Qian. Gong Hao was very unhappy. Why should I give it to you for free? Quan Yuqian looked at Gong Hao with a smile. In exchange, I can tell you something about Yi Hailan. She's back. Hearing this news, Gong Hao was completely dumbfounded. He immediately called for Brother Lu to attend to the Quan Yuqian couple. He told Quan Yuqian to just tell Brother Lu whichever unit he liked. After giving instructions, he immediately rushed off to pack his things and said goodbye to the couple. Quan Yuqian continued to pick a house with Lu Qian. Brother Lu dutifully introduced the properties to the young couple. Lu Qian chose Unit 1505 on the 15th floor of Building 15. Quan Yuqian also thought it was good. He told Lu Qian to wait obediently on the side while he went to handle the paperwork and make a phone call. As luck would have it, Lu Wenhui was also here looking at houses with Zhang Mingwei. Lu Qian felt it was just bad luck seeing these two. Lu Wenhui also had her eye on a house in Building 15 and called the manager over for an introduction. Lu Wenhui pointed randomly, and it happened to be Unit 1505 on the 15th floor of Building 15. The manager apologetically told Lu Wenhui that this unit had already been sold. Seeing the deflated Lu Wenhui, Lu Qian smugly said, "This unit was sold to me." Lu Wenhui, unable to buy her desired house, began to mock Lu Qian. "It's great to have a sugar daddy." Lu Qian replied with a grin, "I didn't spend any money. It was a gift from my husband's buddy." Lu Wenhui couldn't believe it. A gift from the Quan family? "My husband's buddy is the son of the boss of this real estate company." Lu Qian felt a secret thrill. "This is a meeting gift he gave to me, his sister-in-law." Looking at the gloating Lu Qian, Lu Wenhui was about to die of anger. With her hot temper, she directly slapped the cookies Lu Qian offered out his hand. Then she was about to rush up and hit Lu Qian. But who would have thought that she would step on the scattered cookies on the floor and fall? Lu Qian quickly retreated. The manager quickly caught and supported Lu Qian. But Lu Wenhui fell hard on the ground. Lying on the ground, Lu Wenhui was furious. "Oh no, the fake belly is crooked." Lu Wenhui then put on a dramatic act, telling Zhang Mingwei to quickly take her to the hospital. Lu Qian calmly watched the two leave. He heard Quan Yuqian's call from the side. Quan Yuqian had finished his call and returned. He immediately asked how Lu Qian was, holding him in his arms and telling him not to be scared. Lu Qian told Quan Yuqian not to worry. He was fine. It was just that when Lu Wenhui fell just now, her belly looked strange. In the living room, Lu Qian was looking at a piece of unisex clothing in his hand. Quan Yuqian walked over with an invitation. It was for the 1-month celebration of Lu Wenhui and Zhang Mingwei's son, Zhang Dazhuan. Now, there was no need to worry about Lu Wenhui. Lu Qian retorted that he wasn't worried about Lu Wenhui, but about the child. He might have really overthought it last time. He had thought Lu Wenhui wasn't really pregnant. Quan Yuqian comforted Lu Qian not to overthink it. He was very envious of them. Lu Qian couldn't do anything about it. The baby was only 5 months along. it was still early. Quan Yuchen was just regretful that he hadn't married Lu Qian sooner. Otherwise, they would be attending their baby's 1-month celebration. Deep in emotion, the two started kissing again. Quan Yuchen was left wanting more. He really wanted to continue, but he had to leave. He still had a client to meet. Quan Yuchen urged Lu Qian and the baby to wait for him obediently at home. Lu Qian smiled and told Quan Yuchen to be careful on the road. He would be good. On the sofa, Lu Qian was seriously reading a parenting encyclopedia. The butler came to report that a guest had arrived. Lu Qian went downstairs to greet the guest. Lu Qian's eyes widened. The person who came was actually the aunt from the other day. Lu Qian peeled an apple while telling the aunt that Quan Yuchen was not here. However, the aunt was here to see Lu Qian. The aunt asked Lu Qian, "Has Quan Yuchen mentioned my daughter to you?" Lu Qian carefully asked, "Who is her daughter?" The aunt looked at the nervous Lu Qian and slowly said, "My daughter's name is Quan Zheng." Hearing this, Lu Qian's hand movements paused, and the apple fell to the ground. The aunt looked at Lu Qian's bleeding hand, quickly picked up her things, and left. The eldest aunt's daughter is the woman Quan Yuchen loves most. Lu Qian stared blankly at her own hands. Time flew by. While Lu Qian was still lost in sorrow, Quan Yuchen had already returned. Seeing the listless Lu Qian staring at her hand, Quan Yuchen quickly asked what was wrong. Lu Qian explained it was nothing. She just accidentally cut her hand while peeling an apple. Quan Yuchen wished he could split himself in two to stay by Lu Qian's side at all times. Lu Qian told Quan Yuchen that his eldest aunt had visited today. Quan Yuchen was very puzzled. The eldest aunt told her she had a daughter named Quan Zheng. Lu Qian asked Quan Yuchen seriously, "Does Quan Zheng have any special relationship with you?" Quan Yuchen's eyes flickered. "Don't worry about her. She's just an ordinary relative." Although Lu Qian said she understood, in her heart, she knew that Quan Zheng was her love rival. Lu Qian had no idea how to deal with this love rival she had never met. In the bathroom, Lu Qian changed into her pajamas, ready to relax with a nice bath. Quan Yuchen stopped Lu Qian as she was about to close the door. Lu Qian was very surprised, not knowing what Quan Yuchen was up to. Quan Yuchen didn't understand why Lu Qian was so surprised. She didn't even call him husband anymore. Quan Yuchen said with a smile that since Lu Qian's finger was injured, he would help her bathe. Lu Qian felt such a small cut was no big deal and directly refused. Quan Yuchen was worried about Lu Qian's big belly. What if she accidentally slipped? Lu Qian couldn't win against Quan Yuchen and could only agree. But Quan Yuchen immediately started taking off his clothes. Lu Qian hurriedly stopped him. Quan Yuchen said, "How can I help you bathe if I don't take off my clothes?" Lu Qian instantly understood Quan Yuchen's little scheme and repeatedly refused. Unfortunately, it was too late to stop things now. The two of them soaked in the bathtub together. Lu Qian felt that Quan Yuchen was a big scoundrel, always taking advantage of her. Seeing the pouting Lu Qian, Quan Yuchen prepared to help her bathe. Seeing Quan Yuchen's outstretched hand, Lu Qian shyly said she could wash this part herself. Quan Yuchen told Lu Qian not to move. "I'll wash you more cleanly." Quan Yuchen moved a little closer. "Wife, you have to cooperate with me, okay?" Quan Yuchen looked blissful, watching the shy Lu Qian. He extended his well-defined hand and began to wash Lu Qian. Just then, both of them looked shocked. Quan Yuchen raised his hands. Was that the baby kicking? Lu Qian smiled. It seemed the baby also thought his father was unreliable and was kicking her belly in protest. Quan Yuchen was unhappy. The little one was already taking his mother's side so soon. Quan Yuchen felt it must be because Lu Qian's voice was too loud. Quan Yuchen was already looking forward to the days of being a family of three. Lu Qian turned to look at Quan Yuchen. Quan Yuchen promised Lu Qian, "We will definitely be the happiest family in the world." Quan Yuchen couldn't help but want to kiss Lu Qian again. The baby in her belly kicked in protest. Quan Yuchen thought it must be protesting because they had been in the bath for too long. Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian's fingers were intertwined. "I will protect you both forever." Thinking of the baby in her belly, Lu Qian secretly decided that she would absolutely not let anyone destroy her family. Time quickly passed, and it was Lu Wenhui's sons, Zhang Dazhuang's full moon banquet. That day, Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian attended on time. Quan Yuchen reminded Lu Qian, "It's crowded here, don't wander off. I'll go get you something to drink." Lu Qian obediently stayed put. From aside, Lu Wenhui walked over with ill intentions. Lu Qian congratulated Lu Wenhui on giving birth to a son for the Zhang family. Lu Wenhui proudly showed off her hands, which were covered in jewelry. In a passive-aggressive tone, she thanked Lu Qian. If Lu Qian hadn't pushed her back then, she wouldn't have given birth prematurely, and so her mother-in-law was doting on her even more. Lu Wenhui's eyes narrowed. I'm afraid you're carrying a daughter in that belly. Lu Qian told Lu Wenhui that she and Quan Yuchen were truly in love, not for the sake of having a son, nor for any reward. Quan Yuchen also affirmed that even if they didn't have children, as long as it was something Qianqian wanted, his entire family would get it for her. Quan Yuchen told Lu Qian to ignore the words of such nonsensical people. Lu Qian didn't want to stay there any longer, saying she felt unwell. Quan Yuchen took Lu Qian to rest on the side. Watching the two leave, Lu Wenhui felt disgusted. In the lounge, seeing the lively Lu Qian, Quan Yuchen understood. Lu Qian wasn't really unwell. She just didn't want to see Lu Wenhui. Quan Yuchen felt that Lu Qian was getting bolder, even joking about her health to trick him. A child who lies must be punished. Lu Qian was confused. What punishment? Quan Yuchen, lie down obediently on the bed and rest. Lu Qian retorted that she wasn't tired at all. Quan Yuchen told Lu Qian to sleep for a while, even if she wasn't tired. But Lu Qian really couldn't sleep. Quan Yuchen's trick succeeded. Since you're not tired, let's do something meaningful. In just a second, Quan Yuchen had taken off his shirt. Lu Qian helplessly refused. Quan Yuchen still said the same thing. Don't worry, I'll be very careful. In the lounge, Zhang Dazhuang was crying nonstop. Lu Wenhui was already annoyed from seeing Lu Qian. Now she was even more annoyed. Zhou Fangfang rarely scolded her daughter, saying she should learn to be content. But Lu Wenhui felt resentful that for such a small reward, she had to raise this wild child for the rest of her life. Zhou Fangfang scolded Lu Wenhui. Don't call him a wild child anymore. This is your and Zhang Mingwei's son. Lu Wenhui told Zhou Fangfang that she was just venting. She knew not to go around shouting that the child was bought. Standing outside the door, Lu Haiping overheard the mother and daughter's conversation and was utterly shocked. A waiter saw Lu Haiping standing outside the lounge door and asked if he needed anything. Lu Wenhui had a bad feeling. Zhou Fangfang seemed to have recognized Lu Haiping's voice. Lu Wenhui went to the door to check. It really was Lu Haiping. The mother and daughter discussed what to do at the doorway. From the look on his face, he must have heard everything. Lu Wenhui had a vicious look on her face. There's always a way to make him unable to speak. After attending the full moon banquet, Quan Yuchen and Lu Qian decided to spend the night at her grandparents' house. In the room, Grandpa was complaining to Grandma about that old Zhang who was showing off his great-grandson. Just then, Quan Yuchen walked in with Lu Qian. Quan Yuchen asked what Grandpa and Grandma were talking about. Grandma told him not to mind Grandpa, then asked why they came back so late. Lu Qian playfully tapped Quan Yuchen's chest with her small fists, blaming him. Quan Yuchen grabbed Lu Qian's wrist. He asked tenderly, "Blame me for what?" Lu Qian shyly wanted to walk away. But Quan Yuchen pulled her into his arms, leaned close to her ear, and said, "But I just can't get enough of you, wife." Lu Qian helplessly turned back and kissed him. At that moment, the phone rang. The couple were both puzzled. Who would call so late at night? Lu Qian answered the phone. Hearing the voice on the other end, her face filled with disbelief. "My father was in a car accident." Lu Qian froze on the spot. The phone slipped and fell to the floor. Quan Yuchen held her with a worried expression. She gave him a weak look and fainted. A 5-year-old Lu Qian was happily playing with building blocks at home. Suddenly, she heard her father had returned. She excitedly ran into her father's arms. Being held by her father, Lu Qian was very happy. But Lu Qian was confused. Why did her father tell her to take good care of herself in the future? In the blink of an eye, her father disappeared. Lu Qian stood on the spot, searching everywhere for her father. Lu Qian woke up from a dream and found herself in a hospital. She quickly got up to find her father. Learning that her father was in critical condition, Lu Qian was so anxious that tears streamed down her face. Her grandparents didn't know what to say for a moment. Quan Yuchen had to comfort her. "Qianqian, I can take you to see your father." Lu Qian placed all her hope in Quan Yuchen. Quan Yuchen made her promise to be strong no matter what happened. Lu Qian agreed with tears in her eyes. In the morgue, The patient could not be resuscitated and was pronounced dead at 1:15 a.m. The doctor's cold words were etched into Lu Qian's heart one by one. Looking at her father's body, Lu Qian couldn't believe it. In just a few more months, you were going to be a grandfather. She threw herself onto the hospital bed, emotionally begging her father to wake up. Just then, blood suddenly started flowing down her leg, dripping onto the floor. Her father's death dealt a huge blow to Lu Qian. In the hospital room, Kuan Yuqian held Lu Qian's hand, his heart aching. Fortunately, the baby in Lu Qian's belly was saved, but the doctor warned that she couldn't endure any more shocks. Kuan Yuqian stayed by Lu Qian's bedside without leaving, praying silently. At this time, Kuan's father and mother also came to visit the unconscious Lu Qian. Kuan's father instructed Kuan Yuqian to take good care of Lu Qian. Kuan Yuqian nodded in agreement, and he asked his father to help handle the funeral arrangements for Qianqian's father. Kuan's father told Kuan Yuqian not to worry. Kuan Yuqian hoped his mother would be kinder to Qianqian in the future. Kuan's mother also had a change of heart, saying she would dote on Qianqian as if she were her own daughter. Just then, Lu Qian was heard mumbling dad in her sleep. Kuan Yuqian quickly leaned over to check on Lu Qian's condition. Seeing their son so concerned about Qianqian, Kuan's father and mother quietly left without disturbing them. Kuan Yuqian gently stroked Lu Qian's bulging belly, whispering to himself, hoping the baby could bless Lu Qian to get well soon. After speaking, Kuan Yuqian affectionately kissed Lu Qian's forehead. At that moment, Lu Qian's brow furrowed slightly. She suddenly opened her eyes. Kuan Yuqian was overjoyed, but Lu Qian realized she was lying in a hospital bed. Overwhelmed by grief, she bit her lip until it bled. Seeing Lu Qian hurting herself, Kuan Yuqian quickly pulled her into his arms. Lu Qian looked up at the man who loved her deeply and said, "Yuqian, I'm an orphan now." Kuan Yuqian pulled Lu Qian into a tight embrace. Hearing these words, Lu Qian could no longer hold back her tears. She hugged Kuan Yuqian tightly, releasing her pent-up emotions. Kuan Yuqian promised Lu Qian that he would protect her and their child, and find the person responsible for her father's car accident and make them pay the price. Lu Qian pulled herself together and went to her father's memorial hall. Looking at her father's black and white photo on the altar, she secretly vowed to find the culprit and avenge her father. Thinking of this, Lu Qian clenched her fists. Seeing Lu Qian looking so preoccupied, Kuan Yuqian quickly grabbed her hand. Lu Qian's furrowed brow relaxed slightly as she tried to calm the turmoil in her heart. Kuan Yuqian put his arm around Lu Qian's shoulder and said, "Don't worry. No matter how great the hardship, I will be with you through it." A wave of warmth washed over Lu Qian's heart as she met Kuan Yuqian's affectionate gaze. Suddenly, a piercing sound came from the crowd. "Oh, my poor son. Why did you have to leave like this?" It turned out to be the Lu family's old madam and Lu Qian's aunt. The old madam dropped to her knees with a thud and began to wail. Seeing the two of them being so insincere, Lu Qian only felt disgusted, so she walked up behind them. The old woman turned her head, caught a glimpse of Lu Qian, and began to show false concern again. "Qianqian, my dear granddaughter, you're still pregnant. You mustn't be too sad." Immediately after, she started asking about the distribution of assets. Lu Qian had long seen through the old madam's intentions and said mockingly, "I was wondering why you were being so kind. Turns out you're after the inheritance." Hearing this, the old madam could no longer pretend and started cursing. Lu Qian told the old madam decisively, "There's only one house, and it was transferred to my name long ago. Dad didn't have much in savings. You can have that." Hearing Lu Qian's answer, the old madam was instantly enraged, claiming she had the right to a share of the inheritance and demanding that the company's shares be converted to cash for her. Lu Qian just felt a wave of nausea, condemning the old madam's various evil deeds. "Now you come running to divide the inheritance. Have you no shame?" The old madam, seeing that the pretense was over, directly demanded to see her in court if she didn't get half the shares. Lu Qian sneered, "Go ahead and sue if you want." The old madam continued to curse. "You little bitch, you're making me so angry." Just then, Kuan Yuqian appeared, and stopped the old madam. "Haven't you caused enough trouble?" My wife said, "Sue if you want. Don't make a scene at our family's expense." With that, the man snapped his fingers. "Show them out." As soon as he finished speaking, a group of black-clad bodyguards with 8-pack abs appeared before the old madam, scaring her into backing away repeatedly. But she was still muttering curses. Before she could finish, the bodyguards had already dragged the two of them away. At the same time, Kuan Yu-chen also assured Lu Qian, "With me here, no lawyer will dare to take her case." Lu Qian stated that no matter what means they used, they would get nothing. Several days later, Kuan Yu-chen accompanied Lu Qian to her parents' tombstone. Lu Qian pulled herself together and told her parents not to worry, that she would live well from now on. Kuan Yu-chen also stated by her side that Qian was the most precious person in his life. He would give everything to love her and take care of her for all eternity. Hearing Kuan Yu-chen's vow, Lu Qian was moved and leaned into his embrace. Night fell. Lu Qian was still worried about her father's case. Just then, Kuan Yu-chen returned home carrying a handbag. Lu Qian looked up. "Husband, what's in your hand?" Kuan Yu-chen handed the bag to Lu Qian. "These are your father's belongings. I got them back from the police." Lu Qian lowered her eyes. "This is Dad's phone, and this keychain, he bought it for me on my birthday." Lu Qian's thoughts were pulled back to a long time ago. Back then, her parents were still alive, and she was just a little girl immersed in happiness. Her father had always treasured the keychain, keeping it with him. He hadn't been willing to replace it for so many years. He said that seeing this keychain was as if our family of 3 was always together. Lu Qian clutched the keychain tightly, crying her eyes out. Kuan Yu-chen raised his hand and gently wiped away the tears on Lu Qian's face. "Don't be sad. From now on, I will be the person who pampers you the most in the world." After saying that, he held Lu Qian tightly. Kuan Yu-chen continued, "I'll be your knight, protecting you forever." With that, he gave Lu Qian a domineering kiss. Lu Qian lowered her gaze to meet Kuan Yu-chen's eyes. "Thank you, Kuan Yu-chen." With Kuan Yu-chen's encouragement, Lu Qian calmed down and continued to check her father's phone for clues. Suddenly, Lu Qian discovered the last call received on the phone was from a strange number. The call duration was 2 minutes. If it wasn't an acquaintance, they wouldn't have talked for so long. But Kuan Yu-chen told Lu Qian that the police had already investigated this number. It was a virtual network number, and its source couldn't be traced. Lu Qian fell in a deep thought. Her father was clearly on his way home, so why would he go somewhere else? Standing by her side, Kuan Yu-chen was afraid Lu Qian would overthink and her body wouldn't be able to take it. He told Lu Qian to rest well and leave these matters to him. But Lu Qian said firmly that she would definitely not fall. Seeing Lu Qian's strong appearance, Kuan Yu-chen felt a little more at ease. He leaned over and kissed her forehead, telling her to rest well. She didn't know how long she slept. Lu Qian walked out of the room yawning and came face to face with Hailon on the sofa. Then Hailon greeted her enthusiastically. "Lu Qian, you little sleepyhead. It's almost 10 o'clock and you're just getting up." Lu Qian was pleasantly surprised, complaining about why Hailon didn't wake her up. She had waited in the living room for so long for nothing. Hailon, however, gossiped, "Of course it's because your husband dotes on you. He wanted you to wake up naturally." Lu Qian looked around. "Where's Kuan Yu-chen?" Hailon said he was in the study and wouldn't disturb her in Qian's bestie time. She also quietly teased Lu Qian. "You really hit the jackpot this time." After speaking, she pulled Lu Qian's hand to sit on the sofa, telling her to rest well. Lu Qian suddenly wondered why Hailon was here. Hailon happily explained that young Master Quan had invited her to stay with Lu Qian for a while. She would be staying at Qian's house during this time. Lu Qian was very happy to hear that. Hailon decided that during this time, she wanted to recapture the feeling of their university days. They would start a shopping trip together. Seeing them full of energy and ready to go, Kuan Yu-chen smiled with relief. Just then, Kuan Yu-chen's phone rang. The person on the phone told Kuan Yu-chen that the last person to call Lu's father was actually Lu Wenhui. Learning the truth, Lu Qian let out a sharp cry. It turned out that the last call her father received before the car accident was from Lu Wenhui. Kuan Yu-chen told Lu Qian not to panic. He had already arranged to meet Lu Wenhui at a coffee shop to get to the bottom of it. Lu Qian wanted to go with Kuan Yu-chen. She wanted to ask in person what exactly Lu Wenhui was planning. The next second, in the coffee shop, Lu Wenhui was already sitting obediently opposite Quan Yuqin and Lu Qian. She guiltily asked the couple why they had called her out. Quan Yuqin took out Lu Qian's father's phone, placed it on the table, and questioned her. Why did something happen to Qian Qian's father right after he received your call? Don't you need to explain that? Lu Wenhui's heart skipped a beat, but she could only pretend to be relaxed and say, it's been too long. Who would remember so clearly? Seeing Lu Wenhui's indifferent attitude, Lu Qian was instantly enraged and slammed the table as she stood up. Quan Yuqin immediately grabbed Lu Qian's hand, telling her not to be hasty. Then, he turned his attention to Lu Wenhui, showing her the call log from the virtual software's backend on the day of the accident. Lu Wenhui was shocked. How do you have this record? But Quan Yuqin stated that as long as it was something he, Quan Yuqin, wanted to know, he could naturally find out, seeing that the matter was exposed. Lu Wenhui could only pretend to be calm and drink her coffee. That's right, I made the call. So what? Lu Qian anxiously questioned Lu Wenhui. What did you say on the phone? Why did my father get into a car accident after taking your call? Lu Wenhui was still trying to argue that she had nothing to do with the car accident. She just made a phone call. Quan Yuqin questioned, then why go to the trouble of changing your phone number? Hearing this, Lu Wenhui, who had just been arrogant, suddenly started stammering, confessing that she just didn't want others to know she had borrowed money from Uncle Lu. Lu Qian didn't understand. Didn't you just show off how much money the Zhang family gave you? Why did you still need to borrow money? Lu Wenhui snorted coldly. It was only 1 million. That's not even enough for my daily expenses. Lu Qian asked again, so did my father agree to lend you the money? Did you two meet? Faced with a series of fatal questions, Lu Wenhui finally exploded. Enough. Your father didn't even go to the place we agreed to meet. His death has nothing to do with me. Stop bothering me. With that, Lu Wenhui walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. Seeing Lu Wenhui leave, Lu Qian felt there must be something fishy going on. But Quan Yuqin was confident, comforting Lu Qian to just wait for the results. The scene changes. Lu Wenhui hurriedly called her mother out of the house, complaining through gritted teeth that the fact she called her uncle had been exposed. Lu Wenhui's mother was unconcerned. You didn't kill him. What are you afraid of? Lu Wenhui could no longer hold back and blurted out the truth. Lu Wenhui's mother suddenly understood, grabbing Lu Wenhui and shaking her emotionally. What? You caused that car accident? Lu Wenhui shook off her mother's hand, saying impatiently, what are you shouting for? Do you want the whole world to know? In the end, she was still her own daughter. Wenhui's mother grabbed Lu Wenhui's hand, her heart aching, and told her not to be afraid. If it really came to the day, she had to go to jail. She was willing to go to jail in Wenhui's place. Little did they know that not far away, someone had already quietly recorded their entire conversation. The two, whose evidence had been recorded, were still in the dark. Lu Wenhui asked her mother how the lawsuit Grandma mentioned she was going to file against Lu Qian was progressing. Wenhui's mother shook her head helplessly. The lawyer said that in a situation like Grandma's, it might be possible to get half of the company's shares. Lu Wenhui's mood lifted upon hearing this. She told her mother to keep her matter a secret and just keep an eye on Grandma's lawsuit. She secretly vowed, as long as I, Lu Wenhui, am here, you, Lu Qian, will not have such an easy time becoming a rich man's wife. On the other side, Lu Qian was still cluelessly busy searching for clues in her father's case. As she was worrying, the book in front of her was suddenly closed. Lu Qian looked up. She met Quan Yuqin's gentle gaze. Quan Yuqin reminded Lu Qian to take a proper rest. Lu Qian was only concerned about whether anything had been found out about Lu Wenhui. Quan Yuqin confidently stated that there was nothing he couldn't handle, but he needed the police's cooperation to collect evidence. There would be news in a couple of days if she waited patiently. Although she knew Lu Wenhui was not a good person, Lu Qian still felt that Lu Wenhui was too ruthless. Quan Yuqin interrupted Lu Qian's thoughts, saying the private investigator had found something even more interesting. Lu Wenhui's son seems to have been bought. Lu Qian was shocked. What? But Quan Yuqin just smiled slyly. Let's not rush this. If you want to know more, you'll have to give me more rewards. Lu Qian was both angry and amused. Honestly, you're being mysterious again. Soon, it was the day of the court hearing for the old madam's lawsuit. Quan Yuqin and Lu Qian ran into the old madam's family at the courthouse entrance. The old madam showed Lu Qian an ugly expression. Don't think you can monopolize all that money just because you have the Quan family's protection. Quan Yuqin protectively shielded his wife, telling the old madam to watch her mouth. Seeing this, the old madam continued to pester Lu Qian, cursing at her. Wenhui's mother chimed in from the side, advising Lu Qian to hand over the 30% of the shares she held, so the family wouldn't have to tear each other apart. Lu Qian turned back contemptuously, the corners of her mouth lifting. She spat out 3 words, "in your dreams," and ignored them. In court, the old madam put on a great act, crying and complaining about the hardship of raising Lu Haiping, begging the judge to rule in her favor. Lu Qian stood up unhurriedly and explained to the judge that the plaintiff's claim of her monopolizing the inheritance was simply nonsense. She then handed the judge an electronic share transfer agreement for the Lu Corporation. It clearly stated that half a month before his death, Lu's father had already transferred all the shares he held to her. The old madam was furious. Impossible. It must be fake. Lu Qian continued to provoke the old madam, saying she had changed her mind and now demanded that the savings also be divided equally between them. After a long while, the judge announced that according to relevant laws and regulations, all of the plaintiff's claims were dismissed. The old madam reaped what she sowed and was now completely dumbfounded. After leaving the court, she went crazy and rushed straight for Lu Qian, wanting to take her down with her. Kuan Yuqian reacted quickly, hurriedly protecting Lu Qian tightly. In the nick of time, the old madam's hand suddenly stopped. It was because Kuan Yuqian's personal bodyguard had already grabbed the old madam's clothes tightly. Then, before she could react, he threw her to the ground. The old madam fell hard on the ground and began to wail, lamenting her unfair fate. Why did she raise such an ungrateful wretch? Lu Qian would get her retribution. But Lu Qian said that she was originally going to give the old madam 1 million for her retirement. But the old madam was not content. In that case, she couldn't be blamed for being ruthless. With that, leaving the old madam to throw her tantrum, Kuan Yuqian left with his arm around Lu Qian. Back home, hearing about Lu Qian's heroic deeds in court, Hailon repeatedly cast admiring glances at Lu Qian. That was so satisfying. Lu Qian stated firmly that she would definitely protect her father's assets. Just then, Kuan Yuqian suddenly came in and interrupted their conversation. Seeing Lu Qian's happy face, Kuan Yuqian teased her with interest. This cookie is really sweet, but it can't compare to the taste of Lu Qian at all. Hearing these words, Hailon couldn't help but exclaim with a gossipy look, "Their love is so sweet." Lu Qian pretended to push Kuan Yuqian away in disgust. Kuan Yuqian cleared his throat and became serious. He opened his laptop and pulled up a video. In the video, the old madam was holding a child in a hospital, looking hurried. Lu Qian asked in confusion what was going on. Kuan Yuqian prompted, "Remember what I said before about Lu Wenhui's son being fake?" Lu Qian was puzzled. Lu Wenhui wasn't pregnant, but she had clearly seen Lu Wenhui fall and be personally sent to the hospital by Zhang Mingwei. How could she have had time to switch the baby? Smelling gossip, Hailon, who was on the side, was also drawn in. Then Kuan Yuqian pointed at the computer and explained the whole story to Lu Qian and Hailon. It turned out that things happened suddenly that day. Only Zhang Mingwei from the Zhang family was at the hospital, and Lu Wenhui had long bribed the doctors and nurses to secretly bring the bought child into the delivery room, passing it off as the child Lu Wenhui had given birth to. Lu Qian and Hailon had a sudden realization. At the same time, they were shocked by Lu Wenhui's actions, sighing at how messy the circles of the wealthy were. Kuan Yuqian continued, "Now the child's birth mother regrets it and is looking for the Lu family everywhere to get the child back. If we tell them this news, I'm sure there will be a good show to watch." Then he turned to look at Lu Qian. "Wife, whether to tell them or not, the decision is all yours." Lu Qian had long wanted to teach Lu Wenhui a harsh lesson. How could she let go of such a good opportunity? Kuan Yuqian understood. He promised Lu Qian he would send someone to do it right away, and he would record this moving scene to let Lu Qian vent her anger. The two of them laughed deviously on the sofa. Faced with such a devious pair, Hailon couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. In the evening, Kuan Yuqian received a call from his subordinate. The subordinate told him that Kuan Zheng was trying to commit suicide. But Kuan Yuqian didn't take it to heart. If she really wanted to kill herself, why would she let people find out? Just as he was about to hang up, the person on the other end said something. Kuan Yuqian helplessly said he would go handle it. Just this once? Just after hanging up, Lu Qian suddenly appeared and hugged Kuan Yuqian from behind. Kuan Yuqian came back to his senses. Lu Qian said she couldn't sleep without her husband by her side. Quan Yuqian looked at Lu Qian with an intriguing expression. He swept Lu Qian up in his arms, asking teasingly, "How is my arm strength?" Lu Qian answered, 100 points. Then she pressed her lips firmly against Quan Yuqian's. During the tender moment, Quan Yuqian gently placed Lu Qian on the bed, expressing his love for her. But there were some problems with the company in America. He had booked a flight and had to leave in a bit. Lu Qian asked worriedly if everything was all right. Quan Yuqian stroked Lu Qian's hair and told her not to worry. It wouldn't take 3 days. He could be back as early as tomorrow night. A moment later, Quan Yuqian had packed and left the house. Lu Qian looked reluctantly at Quan Yuqian's departing figure, just hoping he would come back soon. On the other side, Quan Yuqian began to blame himself. He had lied to Lu Qian, but some things had to be dealt with. The next day, the police came to the door and told Lu Qian that her father's case had been classified as a premeditated murder. Soon, Lu Qian and Hailon went to the police station together, waiting for the police to bring out the culprit. The door was pushed open. Lu Qian looked up and met Lu Wenhui's gaze. She stood up angrily. "Lu Wenhui, it really was you." Lu Wenhui gave a provocative look and snorted coldly. Seeing her disdainful expression, Lu Qian suddenly became emotional, questioning her resentfully. "Why did you have to kill my father?" Lu Wenhui answered, "You can only blame your dad for hearing that my child wasn't my biological one. I originally wanted to call and ask him not to tell anyone, who knew that not only did he not agree, but he also lectured me on the phone." She slammed her hands on the table, getting more and more agitated as she spoke. "You should take a look at what he is. In this world, only the dead can truly keep their mouths shut." Hearing this, Lu Qian suddenly slapped Lu Wenhui hard across the face. "You're a lunatic." Lu Wenhui showed no remorse and continued to add insult to injury. "I didn't mean to kill him at first. I secretly followed him in my car. But the more I looked, the angrier I got. And thinking of you made me even angrier. You, an unwanted bastard. On what grounds do you live a better life than me?" Lu Qian trembled with anger at Lu Wenhui's shocking words. She had no intention of stopping, grabbing Lu Qian's collar and continuing to provoke her. I just stepped on the gas and he died." Lu Qian used all her strength to push Lu Wenhui aside, warning her that she would make her pay with her life. After returning home, Lu Qian immediately called Lawyer Tang, stating that in this case, she did not want to see Lu Wenhui walk out of here alive. After giving her instructions, Lu Qian let out a long sigh. Then, with tears in her eyes, she hugged Hailon, hating herself for not being able to protect anyone. Both her parents were killed by others. Hailon, watching all this, could only comfort Lu Qian with a heavy heart. So it was night. Quan Yuqian had been gone for a day. Lu Qian sat by the window, hoping for his return. Suddenly, her phone rang. After answering, Quan Yuqian's steady voice came from the phone. "Qian, I heard you want to see Lu Wenhui. Are you okay?" Hearing his voice, Qian felt even more wronged. Quan Yuqian comforted her. "The law will make them receive the punishment they deserve." Lu Qian wiped her tears and asked Quan Yuqian when he would be home. Suddenly, a piercing female voice came from the other end of the line. "What are you doing?" "I don't want to." Lu Qian's heart tightened. She tentatively asked, "Husband, is there a woman with you?" Quan Yuqian immediately denied it, saying something might have happened outside, and he would go check. Then he hung up the phone. Lu Qian looked at the disconnected call screen on her phone, her mind racing. Was what Quan Yuqian said true? These past few days, without Quan Yuqian by her side, Lu Qian couldn't sleep well each night. In her drowsy state, she felt someone standing in front of her. Lu Qian's eyes shot open to see Quan Yuqian's exhausted face. She sat up in disbelief. Quan Yuqian looked at her with a pained heart, pulling her into his arms while gently kissing her forehead. Lu Qian asked if the company's matter had been resolved. Quan Yuqian said it was all settled and told her not to worry. Then he gently helped her lie down, saying it was still early. He would sleep with her for a while longer. Although Lu Qian was still puzzled by the woman's voice on the phone, she looked up and saw that Quan Yuqian had already fallen into a deep sleep. He must have been too tired these past few days. Lu Qian comforted herself that she should trust Quan Yuqian. Then she gently pressed her lips against his. After that, she went downstairs to prepare for her prenatal checkup. Seeing Lu Qian going alone, Quan's mother was worried and went to the hospital with her. After the examination, the doctor told them that the fetus was developing well, but they needed to be careful that the expectant mother did not experience any more major emotional fluctuations or something serious could happen. Quan's mother nodded worriedly and carefully helped Lu Qian out of the examination room. Little did they know that the old madam's fierce gaze was now fixed on Lu Qian. Taking advantage of their inattention, the old madam rushed out from a corner and pushed the weak Lu Qian with all her might. Lu Qian's body swayed, and she fell heavily down the stairs. Was this the end of everything? Quan's mother was outside the emergency room, anxiously waiting for news about Lu Qian. Quan Yuqian rushed over and asked Quan's mother what had happened. Quan's mother explained the course of events to him. The old madam had deliberately pushed Lu Qian. Fortunately, a driver who was about to go up the stairs caught her at the bottom of the staircase. Quan's mother covered her face and cried with self-blame. Quan Yuqian comforted her, saying everything would be all right. Just then, the operating room door opened. The doctor informed them that the expectant mother's pregnancy was in a dangerous state, but fortunately, it was now saved. For safety's sake, he recommended hospitalization for observation. Lu Qian was pushed out in a wheelchair. She looked at them, feigning indifference. After seeing her, Quan Yuqian gently picked her up and walked towards the hospital room. He promised that he would not let anyone hurt her again. Lu Qian only hoped that he would not blame his mother. But Quan Yuqian said it was all his fault. He should have come for the prenatal checkup. Lu Qian looked at Quan Yuqian with a pained heart, comforting him that it was okay. She then asked with concern if the matter abroad was very tricky. Quan Yuqian just told her to rest assured, but in his heart, he felt guilty. In a little more time, he would tell her everything. As he was thinking about this, Lu Qian had already fallen asleep. He got up and tucked her in, vowing to himself that he would not let those who hurt her get away with it. Walking out of the hospital room, Quan Yuqian made a call, telling his men to investigate the old madam's recent movements. He wanted this old woman to have nothing within a week. Not knowing how long she had slept, Lu Qian finally opened her eyes. She found that Quan Yuqian was keeping watch by her bed without leaving. Quan Yuqian asked her if she slept so soundly because she hadn't slept well these past few days. Lu Qian nodded. I was afraid you were busy abroad, so I didn't dare to call you. Seeing Lu Qian's adorable appearance, Quan Yuqian said that what he wanted to hear most these past few days was her voice. Hearing Quan Yuqian's confession, Lu Qian hugged him tightly. Quan Yuqian continued to speak. No matter how far apart they were, he would find a way to get closer to her. Lu Qian looked at Quan Yuqian, moved. Even though he was right here, her heart was still so uneasy. After all, the Quan and Lu family businesses both relied on him. How could she selfishly ask him to accompany her all the time? Thinking of this, Lu Qian woke up Quan Yuqian, who had been napping for a while. She told him that after the baby was born, she also wanted to learn about the company's business to help share his burden. Quan Yuqian was stunned for a moment, then laughed. It's not that simple. But Lu Qian was not convinced. After all, she had graduated first in her business major back then. She would surely pick it up quickly. Then Lu Qian's tone softened. There shouldn't be a problem with a husband teaching his own wife, right? Quan Yuqian just found it amusing. Are you going to become my apprentice? I'm very strict. With that, he kissed her deeply. And on the other side, Lu Wenhui's mother was wailing. She lamented why her fate was so bitter. Her husband and daughter were both in prison. The old madam was so annoyed by the noise that she slammed the door and went out to find a lawyer. The old madam also found it strange. Why had she approached more than 10 law firms? Yet no one dared to take her son's case. She felt that the Quan Yuqian couple must be behind this. Just as she was at a loss, the old madam happened to overhear a passerby talking about a super powerful lawyer who had recently arrived nearby with world-class professional skills. The old madam's interest was immediately piqued. She had the passerby take her to the law firm. She looked at the dilapidated building in front of her and walked in, clinging to a last shred of hope. After watching the old madam go in, the passerby from just now made a call to Lawyer Liang upstairs, telling him the person had gone up. Completely unaware of everything, the old madam was now sitting in front of Lawyer Liang. She first fawningly praised Lawyer Liang's professional abilities. Then, she indignantly stated her real purpose for coming. She wanted to ask the lawyer to save her son. Hearing this, Lawyer Liang interrupted the old madam, saying with difficulty that the Quan family's matter was not easy to handle. Seeing Lawyer Liang hesitate, the old madam proposed that money was not an issue. Lawyer Liang immediately replied, 300,000. I'll handle it for you. The old madam's heart skipped a beat. Although it pained her, for her son's sake, she could only obediently pay the money. Thinking everything was settled, the old madam happily walked out of the law firm. As soon as the door closed, Lawyer Liang's face immediately darkened. It turned out that Lawyer Liang was Quan Yuchin's good friend in disguise. Although he had scammed the old madam out of 300,000, Quan Yuchin felt it was far from enough. He wanted this old woman to never be able to recover, to be unable